Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Drop Frames. It's another Sunday. Hope you guys are all having a good day. Cozy, how are the two of you? Everything good? Everything happy? Smiling?
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
That's great.
Co, you pay your taxes?
Yep.
Already had this conversation. You haven't done it yet. Oh, God, he's going rogue. They're coming after.
I got people, man, and I get an extension. The taxes in the state that I'm currently residing are an absolute mess, and it becomes even messier when you have multiple income streams. And I've got a lot of income streams these days, so it's
Look at this
not that they're all big. Not that they're all big, unfortunately. I mean, we're talking. No, it's crazy because like if you get like a $70 payment from a company that's not on any of your other tax stuff, that's like a whole new thing you have to then do. And then like there's stock stuff and just a mess. So.
Yep.
Yeah, still collecting documents, still getting all that, and already got my extension in, so.
There you go. Got to get those extensions. Yeah.
I honestly thought you didn't pay. I thought you were working on becoming a religion co. I heard.
Yes.
So you don't have to pay taxes. I thought you already made it there because
the mega church is almost done. Yep. Yeah, he's waiting on that.
I still have to prove that my entity exists, and I'm having some issues with that. Because
what's that process look like?
It's a little convoluted, honestly. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was, but it's more like, you know, you have to have like different miracles. You have to have like your version of Jesus, and it becomes a little, again, just convoluted.
It's kind of like Civ.
But you get it's worth it for the tax breaks though.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, that's what me and Zeke were talking about. We were trying to figure out which entity we could both create. Maybe go in on it together and see if there's like a tax split that we could do between the two.
Our creation myth is awesome, though. It involves a lot of macaroni and 3 mice, but I can't wait to get into it more. But it's still kind of NDA.
All right. Workshopping it still. That's good.
Absolutely.
That's good stuff.
It involves tough.
Well, we got a holy trinity here, like with all three of us.
True. Yeah. I don't know which one is which though. If
Zeke is the ghost of streaming past. Wait, I think we all are.
I think we all kind of.
Did you just have 3 ghosts? Did you just have the ghost of streaming past?
Yeah, I think we're all kind of fit into that nice little narrative. Yeah,
we do.
That's how it goes. We'll leave it at that. That bit's over.
I made that joke to Zeke, and I think I'm older than Zeke.
Yeah, I have to remind myself that I'm the youngest on the show. Over and over. It's it's kind of nice to hold that title though. I have to say, it's rejuvenating, really. At the end of the day, makes me feel better about myself.
You will always be the youngest on the show. That must be. I will always be the oldest.
Yeah,
love it.
Feels good.
It does not. It feels bad.
It puts a little.
It does not feel good. No, it does not.
Jump in my step. It were if I could jump.
Little pump in your dump.
Oh.
No, I don't think. I don't. No, I don't.
Watching JP compute that was great. It was like little pump in your.
Almost made it worth it.
I don't like it.
No, I'm
almost.
I'm not into that.
Almost.
Anyways, a little bit different of a show this week. We got about 90 minutes with us, and then Mr. Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games, the game director of PoE 2, is going to be joining us for the back half of the show. We'll probably take a quick little sound check break because he's joining us at I think 6:30 a.m. is when his call time is for the show over there in New Zealand on Monday morning. So I was told he's also calling in from his house instead of the Grinding Gear Game studio this time around. So we'll investigate all that stuff and make sure he's sounding and looking pretty before we come back on air. But should be like a 5-minute break at most. So we got to cram everything in before then. Luckily, not that busy of a week, at least in news. We did have some big releases. Blueprint. Well, I wouldn't say Blueprints is a big release. I would say it's a good release, but it's not really doesn't have that much. I guess it had like a little bit of sizzle, a little bit of hype right before it came out. And now that it's out, I don't know. What are the two? I think we've all played it. We could just jump straight into Blueprints. The puzzle game. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't want to show any footage of it because it's like a weird game to talk about.
Because you said the game wasn't making a big splash, and I thought to myself, but wait, I saw on social media so many people writing articles about it was amazing and the next Outer Wilds and all this stuff, and then I was like, but you know what? I haven't actually looked at the numbers.
Yeah, I haven't either. So
13,000 all-time peak.
Okay.
Playing 11 minutes ago. They're currently at their peak, which is awesome. But 13,000. I mean, that's very solid numbers for a new indie game. Very solid numbers for a new indie game. No question. However, I expected that to be higher with the quality of this game.
It's on Game Pass. It's on every console.
Good point.
So that might be
that's going to throw a wrench in those numbers.
Yeah. I've also just had so many people, I mean, there's one actually right in my chat right now say like, hey, I've never heard of this game until today's podcast or last podcast or
I've been streaming this game like crazy and constantly have people coming in being like, what's this?
Yeah.
What is this game?
Yeah, so maybe that's a great place for me to start. Do you tell them to stop watching?
No, because this feeds my family. What I would tell them is
like I don't know how to talk about the game because it's so easy to spoil stuff.
It's a roguelite puzzle game. It's incredibly unique, and the less you know about it, the better. I just made a thoughts video of it today, and I actually at the end was like, if you are at all interested in this game, the best thing you can do is not do anything else except go play it right now. Yeah, and like just absorb it. That's the kind of game it is.
Yeah, it will probably be a short conversation on it, I would think, here on the show. This is the trailer, so I guess no spoilers apart from the trailer itself. But yeah, came out with, I think it's the most or the highest scored
rated Metacritic game.
Yeah, of the year thus far. Sitting at like a 91 or a 92. I don't know if it's fallen from that, but that was about midweek. I jumped into it for a little bit yesterday. I played, it took about...
Wait.
What?
I don't think you jumped into it. I heard somebody else jumped into it.
Well, I was there for like the first 30 minutes, then he showed up a little bit later.
I was watching. Brute Force was watching the puzzler.
Apparently, did you see me brute force the random thing that someone was like, you're not supposed to figure that out for another like 30 hours.
No.
Oh, no.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
I have to know what it was. I have to know.
I don't know if you've done it yet, so I don't want to tell you.
I don't want to
I need a hint. I need a hint. Oh God, I'm so curious now.
Can
you tell me the room it's in?
It's not in a room.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not in a room.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Chat said it's like one of the longer puzzles in the game, and I just like stumbled upon.
Oh. Was it between two things?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Talking around puzzle games is
tough. It's impossible to talk around puzzle. That's why I'm just like, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I happened upon that.
The only other word I would say is it's like camping?
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, great.
Yeah. And I just that was also on. So it's a run-based game. Let's talk about what's anything. It's a run-based game. And
it's a roguelite.
It's a roguelite. Yeah, and RNG does play a factor into it.
It does. Absolutely.
And
it's like any roguelite.
Yeah, I would say from the majority of the complaints that I've seen about that game, mostly from people that have played like 15 to 20 plus hours of it, that's one of the negatives that they say is that the RNG gets in the way of doing things.
Here's what's really funny. This is the exact argument that gamers made when these roguelite games started to become popular as well. People were talking about that stuff when Hades came out. How they didn't like their giant runs ending because they got bad RNG at the end of levels. The thing about people complaining about this game's RNG, this is a fundamentally new thing. There have been other variations of roguelite puzzle games in the past, but this is one of the first times we've seen one of this level and of this quality. It is a new beast, and a lot of people playing it do not understand. They don't understand that this game is designed to be played multiple times. They don't understand that the RNG is there to brick you. Like, the point is that it stops you. So you have to redo it. So you discover new rooms and new stuff. If the RNG wasn't there and you could just, methodically complete every single mansion, the game wouldn't be half as interesting as it is.
Right.
Like one of the biggest parts of this game is the fact that you get bricked, you go back in, you find new rooms, you find new RNG, you have to go through the same rooms, you notice new things, you get new items in new rooms you've never seen before. So it's interesting that like it's one of the biggest complaints of this game, and I've seen it too. People that are like, I'm putting this game down because I got to the very last room and ran out of steps trying to go back to do this thing. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. But what's awesome is you now get to start again.
Right.
See, but most people don't make that connection. They think that they've lost. They think they've failed and they don't feel good. And that's just because they don't understand the gameplay loop. You're supposed to fail. Yeah, it's supposed to fail and it's supposed to feel good.
It is not an original thought of mine, but the best way that I saw it described was if you see a new thing or experience a new thing, that's a successful run.
100%.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's how I approached
100%.
it as well. And I generally think that's a new thing. Let me do that instead. It's probably going to end the run, but I want to see what happens.
Or just learning something. Like, I just put that room down. Oh, it doesn't have power, so I can't okay, next time I'll do this. You know, you don't even need to learn anything if you just even have an idea for the next time you play.
Yeah.
It's that good.
Yep.
Well, and also if you
it's kind of like Outer Worlds.
Yes. If you're not super familiar with roguelikes, it's about a lot of them are about hedging your bets. It's about unlocking new things. In previous games, like even going back to like Binding of Isaac, it was about unlocking new stuff and knowing what to look for, hedging your bets for the next time, making the rolls instead of having it be a 20% chance, having it be a 40% chance and a 60% chance, and so on and so forth. And then knowing like this works with this, and every single run I've done in Blueprints, I have learned something new.
Yep.
And I apologize. Yeah, my voice is raspier than normal today. I'm sorry. I'm having a bad voice day. So I'll try and keep my talking to a minimum so it doesn't bother any of you fuckers.
Whoa.
Anyway.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God. No. Hey, when the PoE2 interview here, mum's the word. I'm just going to sit back and I'll make a fart noise every once in a while.
There you go.
Fulfilling your quota.
Yeah, exactly. No, Blueprints is great for that. It does one of the things that I love about roguelikes, the good ones, where it's you do a run, you learn something, you get something, you figure out one thing. If you can figure out one new thing, and I will give it like anybody a piece of advice when it comes to any roguelike, not just Blueprints, but any roguelike, try the new thing. Don't do the safe thing.
Yeah.
Do the new thing. And the reason why you want to always do the new thing is because there's always another run. If it ends your run, there's always another run.
Yeah.
And you just got to remember, like, that's part of it. Doing multiple runs is part of the game.
Yeah.
It's great.
And chat,
look forward to it.
I think I had kind of the lucky experience where my first run, I saw room 46 in some form, is what I will say, which is the goal of the game that you get from the very beginning. And so like I saw that on run 1 and everyone was like, geez, you had like, that's a crazy first run for you to have, that you got that lucky. And it's like, yeah. And then I got to the second one and I got like to it's a 5x9 grid. And I barely got to like 4 on the second run. And so I got humbled very quickly. And then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. But I saw new stuff on that second, on day 2. So I very quickly learned like what that
I'm on day 38.
Okay.
I think.
How many hours have you put into it? Maybe that's where we lead now. Cause I've seen conversations that people finish this
22.
game. Okay. I've seen people finish this game around 20 hours and then say they have 120 hours played in the game.
I rolled credits.
Credits is how they say it.
And this is not very spoilery. I rolled credits today.
Okay.
So, but rolling credits is not the end of the game. In fact, from what I'm seeing, there is a significantly large, I feel like, you know how you do an MMO and you have like the leveling phase and then like all the stuff you've learned, there's like the end game phase. I feel like the part that I've gotten to now is like where the tougher stuff is.
Right.
Like the stuff that may take more, like a lot more thought than some of the stuff I've done earlier. A lot more connections, a lot more like checking like 10 different rooms for this stuff and then compiling it together and guessing. And dude, I got to a room today, I kid you not. It was a room with 4 puzzles. And almost no one of the 10,000 people watching knew the answer. And for a solid half hour, I was going around looking at these puzzles, and all of chat and me were like taking guesses and working it out and figuring out. It is one of the best puzzle experiences I've ever had on Twitch.
Nice.
It was amazing. Like no one was like overwhelmingly shouting the answers and stuff. And they were tough puzzles, man. I went around that room the first time, taking a guess on every one of them, and every one of them was wrong. In fact, most of them weren't even like in the ballpark of the solution. It gets wild.
Yeah. No,
and for the record, that room didn't even open until after I beat the game.
Oh, so it's okay. The draft.
At least I hadn't seen it.
Has
in
stuff
my
behind the credits.
35 days. Yeah. A bunch of new stuff happens after you roll credits. So it's big.
Yeah. Jason Schreier was the one that was like, yeah, I've got 120 hours in this. And I'm not really
I completely
done yet.
see it.
So
completely.
It's a little bit like Animal
Especially
Well
solo.
in that regard. Where Animal Well has credits, but the game doesn't necessarily
also
end after them.
Somebody earlier said, isn't Blueprints just like basically a copy of the roguelite system from Outer Wilds? And the answer is no, not at all. They both follow a roguelite thing, but honestly, Outer Wilds is more roguelike with a K. There's almost nothing in Outer. I think there's a few things in Outer Wilds that maybe go between deaths, but not a lot, right? Like just a few like mechanical things. Like it's pretty much all about shipping the knowledge, like learning each run and then going back and doing new things. This game is different. This like Blueprints is much more of a traditional roguelike where you are physically unlocking things. You are getting bonuses between rounds. You are starting next rounds with more resources. So it is a much more traditional roguelite than Outer Wilds.
For those of you who need a refresher, roguelike, you do a run, all you come back with is knowledge. Roguelite, you come back with new stuff, new power-ups, new rooms, new whatever it is in the game.
Exactly right.
Roguelike, you come back with nothing but knowledge.
So it's
nothing
like Call
but
of
the
Duty,
info,
right?
What's that?
No, because whenever you finish a round in Call of Duty, you're getting like levels up and bonuses and stuff outside of the round. So,
got it. Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up.
Said that as a joke, but I'm going to hit you with the real. This topic is too important for jokes, JP.
No, that's fine. I feel like we've been saying the roguelike versus roguelite thing for 10 years now on the show, and it's still.
We need a new name for roguelike.
Yeah, we do.
That doesn't have anything to do with rogue.
I agree. Yep. We need to. Someone's got to get on that. Mr. John Video Games needs to get on that. Yeah. So now that you've rolled credits, then Co, are you shelving it, or are you gonna keep going for a while? Okay.
No, I feel like the game just started. Like now we're getting to all the really good stuff. Like some of the, it's really interesting because, well, nope, not gonna spoil it.
Yeah. Let's not.
No, let's wait until we're all.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Period. That's right. There we go. I can't wait to talk more about this stuff, but I can't yet.
Yeah, for me, it's so starting the game off nowadays, and this is a streamer conversation, not necessarily everyone can relate to this. I definitely had people that were just like flyby viewers be like, "Hey, 33." I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks for the answer." Like that's just a made up answer, but they would just like post, blatant answers in there, which sucks because it's like the beginning. It's the very beginning of the game, but. It did help like put me on my way, so it's going to become the off. Now I'm getting a backlog with like all of these like offline games. It's rough.
Taste my pain.
Yeah, it's rough. Like Kazan, I'm still on the same boss.
I'm still working on Kazan, man. I've got like 4 open playthroughs right now.
Yeah. So it's going to go behind that because I'm probably won't stream it anymore because. Puzzle games people want to experience for the first time, and generally like not necessarily the best.
We've had to really work to stream it on Twitch. Like my mods have been super on point. I constantly, every time I get to a puzzle, I tell everyone in chat like I do not want the answers.
Don't want the answer.
Spoil it. Yeah. Like I constantly have to say that during it. So it's you got to work to stream a puzzle game on Twitch properly.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah. Jason in my chat is pointing out, I said 33 and both of you stopped to think about if that's an answer somewhere. You're both
I
like,
totally did. I totally did.
33.
No,
No,
33. That's too simple.
Someone clued me into the, like, very early, the dartboard stuff, how that works.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
I've
no, it
I've
wasn't.
only been like spoiled with like one thing. And I will say it was kind of okay because I had definitely been like, I looked all around this room, I looked at everything and I was like, okay, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. I was like, there's definitely nothing in here that's related to this. And I look over in chat and someone's like, really? Why don't you go read that line of this note again? I was like, well, let me do that. Oh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That happened with the in the boudoir room. If you know what that.
Yep.
Someone was like, well, I'm not gonna say what someone was like,
Yeah.
but yes, someone solved the boudoir room for me, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
But yeah, not that very topical puzzle, if you could even call it that. It's just like hey, look around the fucking room that you're in, which is good advice for everything.
It's interesting because there's some puzzles that are very surface level and easy. And then when you get the answers to those puzzles, they don't really give you a lot of information, but they really whet your appetite. Like, what the hell did I just read? Or what did I just see? Like, and it's really, really well done. And then the stuff where you actually get the answers is like significantly harder in most cases. Takes a lot longer and more effort. Yep.
Yeah, I ran into the, let's say the fortune teller, and I got a little bit of what is one of the grander things in the game, and I was like, oh, Jesus. Okay, where's my notepad? Let me write some stuff down.
Are you using Steam Notes?
I am using Steam Notes, yeah.
Oh,
great
so
system.
good, dude. So
great
good.
system. I'm using Steam Notes
and screenshots.
And screenshots, yes. Hitting F12 in game on like anything I can read
wonderful.
Or any image, I'm just like F12.
Yep, may need that later. Better F12.
Yeah. And let's see how many hours do I have of the game compared to screenshots? 4.6 hours, and I have 85 screenshots.
That checks out. Hey, you're playing it right. That's exactly how to play this game, dude.
Yeah.
They even say, and for those that don't know, they even say in the game at one point, like, you might want to get a notepad for some of this. Like, and real quick for the record, because not everyone knows this. You hold down Shift and hit Tab if you're playing this game on Steam, and there's a little tiny button at the bottom that looks like a pencil called Notes, and you can just write notes right there in the Steam overlay. I have like a notes thing that's like 16 pages long for this game. It's awesome.
Yep.
So strongly recommend using the screenshots and the notes. It's great.
If you want to just hit print screen and then Control V in the notes, and it'll paste the screenshot in the notes as well, so you can have both notes and screenshots in there at the same time. So it's a great way to keep track of all that stuff. Unless you're writing it down, I don't know if that game is actually doable.
There's a few there are a few puzzles that would not be doable without writing it down. Like, there's no in-game way to track what you're tracking. Like, you have to write it down.
Yeah.
So,
makes sense.
Pretty great.
No, I got I've got 9 hours in it and 81 screenshots. So yeah.
Okay. Taking a lot of stuff. Yeah. It's cool. It's a fun game that I kind of came out of nowhere. Because I never played the demo. I think both of you were touting its demo for quite some time during Next Fest. And now that it's finally out, I dove in and had a great time with it. Or having a great time with it. Definitely check it out. It's on Game Pass. It's like $26 on Steam, and I think on other platforms it's $30. It's pretty much on everything.
Worth every freaking penny.
Does it have a Switch port? Is it on the Switch?
I don't know.
It'd be a really good like airplane game, potentially. I guess you'd have to take notes though, so maybe that's a little bit difficult. But it's good. Definitely check it out. It's Blueprints. It's out now. That was, I guess, one of the bigger releases of the week. You guys want to talk Marathon for a little bit?
Sure.
Marathon had its gameplay reveal yesterday. Marathon is the upcoming, now we know, although we kind of knew beforehand, extraction hero shooter from the next game from Bungie, which came out, and I don't think it necessarily, like, it had a lot of hype going into it. As soon as it was shown, I think a lot of that hype was deflated. And if that's too strong of a statement, I'm very comfortable saying that the internet is divided about it. There's a pretty big schism between folks on if you really like it or really not interested in it. I don't know anyone that's like lukewarm on Marathon.
That's kind of where I'm sitting.
Yeah, lukewarm. I have different. I think Ko, I saw you. Did you read Timur's article yesterday on GameSpot? Because I
did. I saw it. Yes.
Yeah,
I read it. Yep.
His like statement on it.
Well,
was
it's
perfect. Perfectly succinct for me.
He could have written a lot about that about Concord. Like it's very tangential. Where it's we have a game that is capitalizing on extraction shooting, which is great. It's doing it in an arcadey format, which is not like Tarkov or Dark and Darker. This is not a slow, methodical extraction shooter. This is a frantic Apex-style extraction shooter, which is already going to completely change what it feels like. You okay?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what this noise is, if it's in my room or if it's in...
Okay.
We're good. We're good. Sorry to interrupt.
But there are... there's kind of three main things about this game that I think surprised a lot of people, including me. Now, first, let me get my old man one out of the way. This game does not look anything like the originals. It looks like they retconned a lot of the original stuff. They haven't yet really done the story for it yet, so clearly that wasn't a big concern. So, like, it's pretty clear at this point that they only brought back Marathon for that. The premise of this game is that the Marathon stuff is like in ruins, and you play these, what do they call them? Stalkers, runners?
I think runners is the in canon name.
You play a cybernetic runner, and you all drop into these ruins, and you get as much as you can, and then you get out. Well, the problem there is that apparently they're trying to say that these super artsy fartsy cyberpunk levels are the ruins from the original two games. And that immediately means they retconned the look of the original games. Because if these are supposed to be the ruins from the original, like none of the original game had this weird cyberpunk aesthetic. So I'm not really sure how they can possibly say, like, I honestly think they would have been a lot better off just not having it anything to do with Marathon, because nothing in it looks like it has anything to do with Marathon. I mean, the original Marathons were story-based shooters where you fought aliens, literally,
right,
and jumped through like dimensions, and we're on spaceships and stuff. Like it's not even related from the looks of it. And then the other thing people have been talking about is the aesthetic. It has a very defined art style. For me, it reminds me a lot of Watch Dogs 2. And it's one of those styles that is clearly more fashion and cosmetic oriented than any kind of realism or immersion. Like, they want this game to be a fashion show, and they want to sell you cosmetics and have you drops so you can make your guys look like Fortnite, as off the wall, as personalized as possible. And I think, again, nothing like that in the originals. And it's kind of, I think, unfortunate for a lot of us, because when you kind of go down that alley, you start straying real far from any type of immersion or realism. You just become like a giant explosive neon color palette. And it's like, for a lot of us, it's just an arcade game. That's not really like, and don't get me wrong, this is a personal opinion, but for many of us, that's not really it.
This probably come across harsh. You say for many of us, for a lot of us, how many people actually played the Mac version of Marathon like back?
No. I'm not talking about compared to Marathon. I'm talking about compared to like Tarkov or Dark and Dark.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Okay, for the record, the original Marathons were basically in the Doom engine.
Yeah, I started to say very few people watching this show. Well, actually, come to think of it, this show probably has the most, like, the highest percentage of people that played the Mac version of Marathon watching and again, at this particular point.
I do want to be careful here. What I'm saying about the art style is completely just my opinion on it.
Right.
But it is wildly variant from like other games of this type of like it's going to be real hard for me personally to like get into a game like this, to care about it long term. The good parts about this game are the gameplay looks solid. it looks like the gun stuff is fun. Although I will say, like, I hate the aesthetics of the guns. They're all just like super blocky and basic. Like, I think the theory is that they're all like 3D printed or something, but
it's very
like, at one
Bungie
point
coded. Like the sniper looks like the sniper from Halo.
Yeah, at one point I thought they were
And
doing like a
Destiny.
weapon made in Minecraft. It's just I just don't like the look of them. But and again, that's all just personal stuff. But I will say the gameplay looks solid. It looks fun. It didn't look very buggy from what we saw. So I mean, I think if you like the art style and you like this type of game, it all just kind of works. It works. So, I mean, like I think that's one of the reasons that the internet is kind of split, is because half the internet likes extraction shooters. They like Apex. They like this art style. So that's like the trifecta. This will probably be fun for them. It'll probably be a lot of fun for them. But other people, I think, wanted things from this game that they just aren't getting, or were expecting things from the game they just aren't getting. And are just kind of like, because they made a lot of very strong decisions with this game, especially with the art style.
Oh yeah.
And you know, those are decisions that are those are risks, and they're gonna alienate some people and bring other people in. So I think that they just took a very kind of large, risky approach with the art style, and a lot of people are kind of turned off by it in some ways. Some people love it, some people don't,
right,
at all.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that, and why it's split. I will
say this.
Oh, go ahead.
Just real quick, I watched a gameplay trailer of somebody playing, and I swear to God, it was just like a 2-minute nonstop sound of weird sound effects. Like it was like from all
the music,
like,
or just
from
like,
the game, from the game, like from all the blipping and beeping, and like the second he targets someone to be like bleep bloop, and then he'd run forward and some door bleep bloop 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 would open, then he'd take out his gun, bleep, 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 and then his friend would come in and use an ability, bleep, 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 and they were all different. So it was just like, it sounded like I was in a casino listening to slot machines going off. Like it was really hard. Maybe if you played it long enough, you could like discern those. But as somebody who didn't know what was going on, I was looking at this being like, this is too much. Like, this is like, it just, with the colors and all the explosions, and I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm old, apparently. Is this?
I mean, maybe it is an assault on the senses, for better or worse. Like there's there's a lot coming at you. Like even in this screen right here, while it's fairly minimalistic UI, there's still a ton of information being presented in that very screen. And I would say even for the gameplay itself, they, I think, did a pretty good job from the UI perspective, actually telling you what's here, because that's the other thing that they have going against them is extraction shooters have a fairly hardcore fan base, and most of the, like, I hate saying like normie fan base, you know, but I guess it's the best way to do it. The normie fan base shies away from extraction shooters because they can be pretty punishing.
They take investment.
Yeah, and they take investment, and if you die, like you lose a significant amount of like character growth, and some people don't want to experience that. So, in a lot of ways, Bungie has, I guess you can't lose someone you never had, but they've kind of pushed away a lot of the hardcore extraction folk. And I don't necessarily know if it landed with the normie audience either. So they're kind of alienating two different audiences that they both need for the game.
Another
to be
interesting thing is that, like, if you think about the speed of this game as an extraction shooter, like Tarkov is way slower. Dark and Darker, way slower. Even Cycle, you could argue, was a little slower than what we're seeing in this, especially when it comes to the abilities and stuff. So it's for people that like that style of gameplay, I'm curious if this will bring them into this type of game, extraction shooters, where they normally felt like that other one was too slow. I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, is it good that it's super fast paced in an extraction shooter, or the fact that it's so fast, is that going to turn off extraction shooter people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like, that could work either way for them.
And I said this yesterday, when I first looked at the gameplay, I think chat kind of turned me around to more Apexy, but I immediately was like, this is very Modern Warfare speed. Like it's pretty quick. And then when I saw the creators playing it, I was like, oh, this is very, very Modern Warfare or Apexy.
All the gameplay I saw, it looked like people were playing this game like a BR or like a Fortnite or COD. Like, there was almost no Tarkov style play. I saw there's not like anyone that I saw that was like ratting right? Like that just wasn't a thing because everyone was just sprinting around. So many times I would see someone looting and then like somebody just sprints in and one-shots them. And it's going to be interesting because I think it has made me realize, like, for an extraction shooter, I think for me, slower may be better. Like, just as a personal thing, like, I don't know if, for me personally, the super arcadey fast gameplay on top of, like, the almost slower, more methodical extraction shooting looting kind of loop, like, that may be a little at odds for me.
Yeah, I would say it's
looking forward to trying it, though, and seeing if that's a lot of people. The case.
I definitely will try it. I'm definitely going to check it out. They're doing a closed alpha later this month, which will not be streamable from everything that I've understood. I think we were given codes to give away yesterday for the stream, and chat was saying like when they signed up with those codes, they signed an NDA to not talk about anything. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty heavily NDA'd come later this month, which for a project that's out in 5 months, I don't know how I feel about that.
Dude, why would they do that when they've already showed so much?
Yeah. Unless there's a lot more. So this starts a whole nother process.
Yeah, maybe this is a good thing.
Yeah,
maybe they have a lot
stuff
under wraps. Yeah, okay. Maybe it's that kind of NDA.
Knock on wood, maybe that's the NDA. But
that's the copium NDA.
It's a copium NDA, yeah. That was that article that I tweeted out on GameSpot. Where essentially the game, and there was some inaccuracies, I think, in this. They went on to say that there's a whole nother topic, that it's a premium product that is full priced in this GameSpot thing. Then Marathon came out and quote tweeted that and said, no, it is a premium product, but it won't be quote full price. Everyone thinking that with the leak, it's going to be a $40 game, which I think is kind of an okay price
2.
point. Yeah,
a lot of people are thinking they're going to model that after Helldivers 2.
Yeah,
that was wildly successful.
Right. Not that bad of a price point, but what they're launching with is 3 maps, with a 4th one launching shortly after release. I don't know how big those maps are, but and there's no story from what we know. There's no like. The game is 3 maps and 6 classes, and that's what it's launching
I'm still
with.
like, I need to watch more of the stuff because I want to know how the class system is going to work.
Yeah.
Like, is it like Dark and Darker where you roll a character and that is your permanent class? And then you can like have a bunch of different classes, or like, do you have a singular entity that then you can make different classes when you want? Like because how they do that is going to dictate a lot of how fun the looting is.
Yeah.
And how they're going to do the loot based on the class stuff. And, it's going to be like real weird if like classes are overpowered. I really wish personally they would have done like, instead of classes, just had like slotted abilities, right? So you can like just customize your character to have different abilities and not like, because this just stinks of Concord hero shooter. Like that's one of my biggest concerns for it is like people are going to come out and just be like, oh, it's another hero shooter. You know what I mean?
They're definitely going to have
something completely different.
Yeah. I think that's way too. Would that be is reductionist?
Reductive.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that's what people are going to do.
No, you're 100% correct that they will do exactly that.
Yeah. They're already people saying it's the next Concord.
They went on. Put in effort to say like you can customize what you're playing and spec out what you're playing. So much so that there's rarity of items, and when you get to like the top level, the top rarity of those items, and I forgot what they were called, they start to alter some of the effects that your character can do in ways that kind of, as they were saying, like change the character and make it play a certain way, whereas other things will make it play a certain way. So it does sound like there's going to be a pretty significant amount of variance there, which is good, but it's one of those things where until I really like can sink my teeth into it, and I haven't watched that much creator footage because there was an embargo that was lifted, and I think a lot of people did dive into that. I don't know if they were allowed to be like, there's X amount of items and there's a wiki that has all that stuff yet, but I have not dove into it. But they did say that there's going to be a significant amount of like customization. So we will see.
I was excited to hear the news that they were making a Lego Tarkov. And I'm glad that
people also said Roblox Tarkov.
And some hype behind it.
Yeah. To go back to that, I will actually use your joke as a serious point. I think it was, I'm stealing from Lyric, who was talking about, and he's played a ton of Tarkov, like extraction shooters for a lot of people, the level of stress and tension that those games present when it's quiet, when there's not much going on, and then there's a loud fucking shotgun or something, and you're just like, oh God, I'm freaking out, is like completely negated in something like this.
That's why I loved Tarkov, because it gave a gameplay experience that wasn't like the run and gun games that you can just download for a dime a dozen. Like it gave this new look, and more importantly, like looting by yourself alone and like just listening in your headphones almost with your eyes closed for footsteps and stuff. Like that's an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, big time.
Now, I don't know if that's here. Maybe they were trying to show, gunplay more than they were showing that, because they mentioned that you can like solo queue and you can, stealth and walk around these things and do different solo loot.
Solo queuing is going to be interesting, especially with some of those abilities that we saw.
Yeah.
Like the shield guy.
There's a shield guy. You can basically, there's also an invis guy. You can just straight up turn invis and ignore a group of 3 running by. Speaking of the shield guy, there he is right there. But yeah, it comes down to like, I think we're just going to have to see more. And I think more people are going to be able, or going to have to play it and figure out for themselves when this launches in September. But if there's anything good to come out of it.
No solo queue for now?
Oh, there is no solo queue. I thought they said that they will have some sort of solo queue system. Maybe they refined that in a creator video or something.
Yeah. Dude, another thing that is so confusing to me. So are you picking a class or are you picking a hero? Because one of the things I saw is Elias Defexis, voice of Adam Jensen, Deus Ex, love the dude. Yeah. He tweeted out that he is voice directing the whole game. Great for him. But then he also said that he voices Void. And which Void is one of the class character things. Yeah. So are you playing you or are you playing...
You're playing Void.
Like a dude. You're playing a dude named Void.
Yeah.
And there's just going to be like 10 of that same dude running around in the map.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
The game was, they even said like, yeah, you can
I hated that in Battlefield and I hate that in this.
They said it was like a meme squad where you can have 3 of the same class, is what they mentioned.
Ugh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hero characters. I know. Well, some hero games make it so you like can't pick the same ones, and they at least try to make it somewhat immersive. But others just don't. I guess
the way that I think the narrative works is that they are all like cloned bodies.
Yeah, but they're not cloned minds, right?
No, they're cloned bodies. I don't know. They put out a video after as like a one more thing that for me was probably the best part of the whole thing. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that.
The cinematic with them sitting down at the beginning and
it's I could play a little bit of it. It's really good. And then it looks like it has nothing to do with the game. It's just like the opening cinematic. And that's it. It's 9 minutes long. I'll start it here just so people can see it. But it's from the is it the
Were they
Love,
trying
Death,
to make
and
the
Robots?
point in this Were they trying to make the point in the cinematic that they don't remember the runs? Because didn't the guy at the beginning know who the kid was, and then at the end he didn't?
Yeah,
so it's like every
it's
time they
like
die,
that.
They're losing memories or something.
Yeah. That's every time they're like born again or whatever, they have a memory wipe, which is kind of the narrative aspect of it. So the minds have no continuity, I think is essentially what they're saying there. So. Like clone.
So basically, they are pure gamers.
Yeah, they're pure gamers. They're TikTok brained gamers.
TikTok gamers, cooked gamers. Got it.
Yeah, ultimately. So I don't know.
What do I think of weapon durability? Do the weapons have durability in this?
Oh, I don't know about that. They didn't. I don't think
I haven't
they
heard
said
anything about that.
Yeah.
I don't think they've said anything about that, dude.
Yeah, I would be shocked if they did. That would be a
that would not be a great call. No.
Yeah. Someone in my chat said there's a hidden durability value. Huh. Okay. As the weapon changes hands,
the durability is they can only transfer a weapon so many times.
Yeah, until the weapon is junk. Weapons can only be looted
Okay,
a certain number of times before they get scrapped and can only be sold.
That's different. That could be interesting if done well.
That's a way
to help. Well, and that's a way to enforce item economy too. So like that's not the worst thing, especially if they add in some mechanic that has the same player play multiple characters. So if they were moving the gun between their characters, they could only do that so many times, and they'd have to go out and get a new one. Like that could be cool. That's just an item economy thing.
Yeah.
But I will say it's great that they don't make it so if you use a gun for a long time, that gun goes bad. That would not be, because then you'd gear fear every single player you have, and that would just be a mess. So,
yeah. So yeah, that's Marathon. We're gonna be seeing one thing I really did like, and I don't know if it was a shared, I don't want to say universal feeling, but I guess I'll judge chat's response to see if I'm the lone person in this. I love the music. I thought the music for this was like on fucking point. I loved everything about any of the.
Was this the one with Geschäftelstein?
Maybe is that who that is?
Dude, they're one of my favorite. Literally a song
I didn't know that's
on
who
my
that
phone.
was. Is that really who that is?
Freaking
Holy
awesome.
shit.
Well, if it's the song I'm thinking of, then
Okay.
yeah, that was the thing that I saw. Was it was the first trailer I think had Geschäftelstein in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This part has me so worried, man.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time, Co.
That's how
I'm
you
not
say
going
it.
to because I say it wrong every time. Geschäftelstein. It's G-Stein, man.
That's the guy that's in the all metal outfit that is in between.
Yeah.
He's
been going. Dude, he's awesome. I've been listening to him for
stuff.
he's been at it for years.
Did he
this part
open for
here,
Lady Gaga last night?
he did. He actually he stealth opened for Lady Gaga
That's
at
what it
Coachella.
was.
Anyway,
See,
okay,
kids,
I saw the
we're
whole thing.
hip. We know all the cool things.
I used to spin him when I DJ'd. I loved it. So.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So one thing that's a little bit concerning in this, though, for me as a person that again is not super into the like aesthetic part of it, they show the female character in this sitting down at a chair, and every time she does, she's in like a full new set of cosmetics. And every time I saw that, I was just seeing like a dollar sign pop up above her head. Like of stuff they're gonna put on the store.
Yeah.
And it just made me realize that like people are gonna look ridiculous in this game, man. They're gonna look ridiculous. Like, especially with this art style and everything. Like, and that's totally cool for a lot of people. Have fun.
Yeah.
You do you. You know, Fortnite skins are huge. I get it. But man, I tell you, people are gonna look just like weird mecho clown junkies. I don't know.
I love the art style in this. It doesn't bother.
Yeah.
You say Fortnite, and I think it's the polar opposite, where Fortnite's just like a media mash of anything popular. And this, I don't know. This has like a vibe to it that I'm into. Like a.
All right.
I would say this is closer to Cyberpunk than anything, which is why I'm so surprised you're not into this style. Because it is.
It's because the thing I love about Cyberpunk is how immersive they are with Cyberpunk. Everything connects to reality. It's realistic. I don't get that feeling at all with this.
Okay.
Like this just seemed this makes me feel Watch Dogs 2, not Cyberpunk.
Watch Dogs 2 being like
Watch
hey
Dogs 2
fellow
being-
kids.
Yes,
Okay.
fashion over form.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
fashion over form. And where Cyberpunk in a lot of times, although don't get me wrong, it's super. There's a lot of form over function in Cyberpunk. You know, like things don't always look pretty, so they'll work. I don't feel like any of that in this game. I feel like everyone in this game is like a would be an Italian runway model thing with all their little
Yeah, man, that's fucking
flair.
cool.
They're
That's
55
sick.
pieces of flair. Yeah, I don't know. It's just yeah. Funny enough, I say this, and people in chat are saying they have the exact issue I'm talking about with Cyberpunk. So you know, it's just flavors. It's just opinions.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I like the narrative run through of all this, by the way, when like people get shot and stuff. It was actually impactful. And again, this was better than the footage, I thought.
I had a question for this part. Did she not bring a gun with her?
I think that's like part of her class is that she's kind of like a disruptor. And so she can like...
The scene confused me because she notices him and she doesn't attack him. She runs. And I was like, is that...
Well, she grabs a gun right after there. So maybe she's just running to try to get out to like, quote unquote, save her loot. I don't know what the narrative
maybe
hook was that.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was like a gameplay reason she wasn't attacking him. And here she does this thing here.
And it might just be that,
with her hand. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess that shows like the deviousness of the character, but it ultimately it comes to light that no one wins in this situation,
which is frequently how these games end.
Yeah, they also, another running narrative I thought for the entire reveal is they were very much trying to nail down the fact that like you're gonna die. This is a game about death. You're going to like failure is part of the game. And that again, I think is a whole nother aspect about these type of games that it's going to be really hard to teach an audience that unless they're willing to be taught that.
Not only that, I think it's very smart of Bungie to be fundamentally incorporating failure into the game loop. Like that's smart of them. But one very concerning thing I heard is at one point they were like, yeah, but don't worry, every failure is a new set of memories. And it's like, no, failure sucks. Don't make the failure glorified. That's, no one likes that. The good part is going back in, like make that part good. But the whole like, no, it's okay, you died, you made great memories. Like, no, dude, that not the play. Yeah. It's just like, you're going a good direction with this. Don't screw it up.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm still shocked this comes out in 5 months. That still is. And the fact that things are still NDA'd, like it's very, very Bungie.
I will say,
very Bungie.
Like for people like me, the thing that could get me to really play this game, and I'm just gonna like, I was thinking about this last night because somebody said like, hey, Co, you're kind of lukewarm on Marathon. What could they do to get you in? What could they do to like actually make you really want to play it? And the way they could do that with me is if they first of all, fundamentally connected to the original games. I don't even care if they do it poorly, just somehow bridge that gap, like make at least some sense. But then also like, there's a huge amount of lore in the original that could be super interesting in this setting. And it makes me very interested to know, like, how are they going to do the meta progression of this game? Like, you know, is it just going to be like classic Apex seasons? Is there going to be any
there is going to be
story
seasons.
Element?
I know about the seasons,
but I mean, is it going to be classic? Like where it's just like, you know, you get a couple new maps and stuff. Are there going to be Destiny style story things we can do? Like, how is the player going to get the story? Is there going to be some cool mechanism to give us interesting lore about the characters? Like one thing about that cinematic that was kind of interesting is they're clearly playing with some memory loss stuff. Are we going to be able to explore that? Are we going to be able to like dig into that? Or are you just showing that because you think it's cool? Like, let's be blunt. A lot of games like this do. So if they were to go deep with this, if they were to make it very like lore-y and interesting, I would play that. Like that could be cool. Like I could pretty much put everything else aside to dive into something like that. So yeah, it's kind of, I'm hoping they keep saying over and over that they're going to respect the original subject matter and kind of like add to it, be additive. So I'm curious. I want to know what that looks like.
Yeah.
That could get me in. That could get me really in if it's good.
I saw there was a creator that was talking about the fact that they found like a secret, I think he said the word dungeon. I don't know if it's to that extent, but basically there was a secret in a level that led to like a PvE style area that was fairly involved, that other people, once they had like unlocked that secret, could also just come in and kill them all. So I like that aspect of it, as long as it's, cool. You know, I guess once the secret's out, then everyone's going to be like, oh, they're in, you know, they're in that area. Let's wait outside the door type deal.
Of course, everything gets meta eventually.
Everything will very much get meta. Yeah.
Have they announced the cadence at which they're going to do updates and stuff? Like when you said they mentioned seasons.
Okay. I don't know if they got that. I don't know if they got to that extent.
Cool.
Anyways, I want to read the end of this article here, these 2 paragraphs, because it's pretty much like directly out of my brain. My feel.
This is the Tamor's article?
This is Tamor's article, yeah. So he goes on to say, either way, I trust Bungie to make good on its ideas and realize its ambition in some form or another. Despite its rocky start, Destiny reached a much better place after the hard work put in to build on what was there. Similarly, Destiny 2's ups and downs also brought with them incredibly memorable character stories and moments. The gameplay of both games also evolved as time went on to become more intricate and engaging. Bungie has repeatedly shown a dedication to its games, so with that in mind, I'm excited about where Marathon could go. But there's also a graveyard filled with short-lived games as service titles that failed to capture the attention of an already committed audience. And lately, big-budget titles from well-funded, high-profile teams have unfortunately made it there too. Like it or not, there are certain things that players already have and expect from similar titles, and if they're to find a place in their gaming lives. In a world of free-to-play titles, a full-priced game that is light on content but full of hopes, dreams, and ambitions may not be enough to inspire in others the same confidence that I have in Bungie. And
I will say, like, I'm interested in, as somebody who does not play Destiny and Dungeon stuff. Like, didn't Destiny have a pretty good amount of issues? I mean, I remember that it was a very up and down for a while.
Yeah, I mean,
that article made it sound. No, I mean the article made it sound like he's counting on them because of that. But I mean, there was like entire years where they were like barely hanging on. So
that's
even with that in mind, do you still have confidence?
I mean, they stuck Destiny's. In my mind, they stuck Destiny 2's ending. They got there. I don't know what the fuck's going on in Destiny 2 right now. Because for me, that game ended last year. So they made good on it then. It just took, 10 years to get to that point, right? So that's, again, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to capture that right off the bat. And also, given today's, like, climate, I don't think they can do what they did with Destiny and be successful, where it is those ups and downs, because people are so quick to drop.
Absolutely not.
They're so quick to drop things these days because there's so many more options, right? Like they can go do another thing. They can go play another thing.
Especially since it's entering the realm of free-to-play games as a non-free-to-play game. Their biggest competition is literally going to be something that people can download for free in a lot of ways. So,
Yep. So we'll see. Zeke, in a lot of ways, you're the audience that they try to capture, right? You're the I don't like hero shooters. I don't like the experience of hero shooters. Did this do anything to like help you? No,
not really, man. There was nothing. There was nothing in there that was enticing for me. The most enticing thing about that entire discussion you guys had was the trailer was made by if you are a fan of Love, Death, and Robots like I am,
it's the same guy.
You know exactly which artist did like which like episode of Love, Death, and Robots they got to do this trailer, and the trailer was fucking awesome to watch.
It was
really cool. The gameplay though, like man, it just has, for someone like me, it has just so many things going against it. The aesthetic, I am not a fan of. Not a fan of the blocky style. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that, and the
same boat.
Not only that, but with like, here's a splash of neon on everything. We're just gonna put a splash of neon pink and neon green and all that kind of shit. I'm not even talking about the gameplay. I'm just talking about the look of it. Is just, it's a mess to me. It doesn't. It Cyberpunk made sense, like Ko was saying. Like within the city, whatever the city of Cyberpunk was, everybody looked like that. Mm-hmm. But in this, it's like the characters like stand out against like this environment that they're in a lot of times. And it seems like, not only does it seem like out of place, but it seems counterproductive if you're doing shooting against people you don't want to stand out.
I literally said the exact same thing.
Here. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
I said the exact same thing when I was watching the trailer. I was like, why do all these people look like walking targets? And the point is to make yourself look as neon as possible. And then, yeah, it's the same thing as Fortnite. Like it just goes to show you, you're not playing any type of realistic thing. It's just a game. It's just an arcade game. And
to Fortnite's credit, everything looks cartoony. So like that makes sense.
Not wrong. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I completely agree with everything you said, Zeke.
Did you guys see the latest trend, by the way, in Fortnite, where everyone's playing as Sabrina Carpenter and not shooting? She got her new skin in there, and everyone's just like having dance
off. That's
routines.
So awesome. I love that shit. I
love it. Fortnite continues just to be great.
I loved seeing the Sabrina. I saw a highlight of Sabrina Carpenter, and it was pictures of her in Fortnite just mowing people down, and then a real life version of her be like, man, that was so great, wasn't it? And then it'd go back to her like murdering all these people, and then it'd go back to her, she's like, God, that was just so much fun. And then it would go back to her.
Yeah.
Who's Sabrina Carpenter? She is a young super popular
star.
female singer right now. She's a pop star, big pop star. Yeah. So as a very popular thing, they put it in Fortnite. Just like they do all popular things.
Yeah.
She came out of Disney, right? Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or the Disney shows, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? That's Marathon. I'm sure we'll be talking about it. I guess as it gets closer to September, we want to talk about the alpha.
For everyone in chat going, popular, I've never heard of her. Yeah, you're old now.
Yeah,
you have officially not heard of somebody who is wildly popular with the kids. So you have made it. Congratulations.
That's correct.
You are old now.
Congratulations.
You've done it.
Congratulations. You were born in a year starting with 19.
I regret to inform you, chat, that you are not cool and old.
I'm so sorry. Which is weird because you're watching this show. I don't know what's going on. That's very strange.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, weird.
Anything else? I could see Jonathan join the call here, so we can do like one or two more stories and then take a quick break for a sound check. I'm going to let the dog out as well because he's driving me crazy. And then we'll do the PoE interview. What else happened? I saw Baldur's Gate 3 is finally getting its patch on
April
Tuesday.
15th, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. They're adding a bunch of subclasses. Did you guys see that mod team that is also doing that crazy new like custom campaign thing for it? It has a ton of players or a ton of devs for it. I don't know if that's there. It's all but like backed officially. There's a huge group of people making some sort of story mod for the game, which is awesome. I want to play more of that. I forget the exact name of that, but it should be really cool. We saw some Outer Worlds 2 footage. Code, did you check any of that?
I haven't seen that yet. No, I need to. I'm very much looking for it. How was it? Did you see it?
I watched it.
Probably looked like more Outer Worlds.
Yeah, well, because I didn't play much of the first, so I couldn't really say what was new or like. It looked fun. I'm interested in playing it, especially after playing Avowed, which is I think for a lot of people that they're gonna be like, "What the fuck did he just say? Like what is he talking about?" But yeah, everyone when I was watching it said, "Yeah, it looked a lot better than Outer Worlds 1." So they're gonna have a direct on June the 8th. That'll be right after their showcase, which is confirmed a part of KiwiCon. There in the beginning of June. So that's awesome.
I do have another game I would love for just a quick heads up on because I'm kind of confused by it and I don't know what to think.
Let's hear it.
There was this giant sponsorship and all of this hype and everything for like literally 3 hours for a game called Wildgate.
Yeah, I played it. Was there sponsorships for it? I was not sponsored for it.
I think there was a lot, wasn't there?
I don't know.
I wasn't. I don't even know about it. I had a lot of people ask me if I was going to play it in like one day, and then I haven't heard anything since. So it was like a time-based.
Yeah. So
thing?
the I don't know what they're calling it. The test, the whatever the test is, ends tomorrow. It started on Friday.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
And
you're doing like what Dark and Darker did.
Yeah. It's definitely like a timed thing. I don't think it was all that difficult to get a key from what I understood. But yeah, here's me playing it. The quick and dirty on Wildgate. Remember Guns of Icarus?
Yes.
Did you play it at all?
Very little.
So it's like a dash of Sea of Thieves with a dash of Guns of Icarus with, and I might lose you here, class heroes that you choose and go into the game.
Classes are okay, especially if they have like. It depends on how it works. They could be just fine, but
yeah. It's each map is 5 teams of 4. Each team has a ship, and each team that's my ship right there that my team has. And you spawn into the map. You're not really sure where anyone is. And you go around and do PvE to get new weapons, new upgrades for your ships. There's like hard points on your ship that you can equip certain things to that make you turn faster, heal faster, give you more shield, shoot better. And the goal, the way to win, the win condition is 1, be the last team standing. 2, escape with the artifact, which spawns randomly somewhere in the map. And the second that the artifact is discovered, it is a constant radar. It's constantly on your radar of like, here's the artifact.
Gotcha. Yeah.
This team's got the artifact. They're going straight for the exit. You got to figure out if you need to go stop them. So a lot of Sea of Thieves. When your ship dies and you're not, so when you get killed, you respawn. It's on a 10-second timer. When your ship gets blown up, you can still be alive, but you won't respawn. But you can also just sit on the outside of someone else's ship and wait for them, which is kind of cool. I've done that multiple times. It usually ended in failure because there's 4 people against me. But this is me just getting a bunch of different resources for the pilot of the ship to be able to boost. I think it's cool. I'm curious to see if it finds an audience. That's going to be the biggest thing for this, is if it can find an audience. Because even with, like you said, it being this like beta weekend, it doesn't have that many people talking about it, and it doesn't have that many people playing it.
Yeah, like I said, I got a whole bunch of interest one day, and I want to say it was like last Friday. And then didn't hear anything about it yesterday. Didn't hear anything about it today. Really, haven't had a lot of people like. Can anyone get in? Like,
No,
Chad, are you guys playing this? Like,
it's
how do you feel
fairly
about it? What's the name of this? Wildgate.
Yeah, Wildgate.
Oh, RCM says this game is the most fun I've had in a while. True Voltage right after. As a Sea of Thieves fans, I'll definitely be playing this. I would play this if it's hard in. Oh, apparently it's hard to get keys right now.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying they signed up but can't play.
Got it. So maybe that's why not that many people are.
I was denied a key? Oh, damn. They're even denying. Okay.
Yeah. In terms of the group,
I was going to say, this looks kind of fun.
I had a good time with it.
Yeah.
My biggest issue was that I was playing with randoms. And this is very much a game where you're going to want to communicate. It does have VoIP. I immediately turned it off because I was worried about VoIP in an online environment, which is, that's a streamer thing. But if I had, 3, I think Summit's been playing a lot with a full group. And he's obviously enjoyed Sea of Thieves. So he had a pretty good time with this from everything that I could see. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Was this the game Keeley teased?
They did an event recently, with Keeley involved in it. So it's from Dreamhaven, which is Mike Morhaime and Chris Siggety and Dustin Browder, 3 people that I'm very well familiar with from their time at Blizzard, because they are all not only like the OGs of Blizzard, they're also responsible for like StarCraft and World of Warcraft. So I have worked with them and spoken with them a lot. So I was lucky enough to be, nepotismed into this of just knowing someone. But yeah, it's cool. I am interested to see if it finds an audience.
Cool.
Also still needs balancing. I played a character that when you're outside of your ship, goes stealth. And there is one of the PvE and things that happens, you can see right now on screen, I'm doing like a smaller version of it. You capture things by standing on a point as different enemies attack you. There is an area where it is considered I think a hard, they do like easy, medium, hard difficulty when you look at a object or an area. And this one was hard, but because I was there by myself and I was stealthed, I just stood in the corner of a capture thing and waited for the bar to fill up, and then went to the next area and stood in the corner and did that. And I was rewarded with a legendary ship core, which restores health over time, which is much better than anything else in the game. And I took that back to my team, and we ended up winning with like 20 HP left on our ship because we were able to restore it over time. And like the pilot was able to evade the ship. It was a cool thing that happened. I don't know if that'll ever happen again. It's fun to see that type of stuff. And maybe that's on purpose. Maybe they want that style of gameplay where you can have, essentially fight 3v4 for the entirety of the game, and then the rogue comes back to the group with a huge find and like wins the game because of it. It's a cool story around that. But I don't know if they want that to exist in the long run, because I completely avoided any conflict. I just sat on the point stealthed until the bar filled. So yeah, cool. I think it's cool. I think more people have to get their hands on it. I don't know if they've said if this is free to play or what their like pricing structure is going to be for it. There are battle passes for it. You like choose a battle pass in game or a battle pass equivalent on what to unlock, and those unlock different ships that you can get, different weapons. I think they call them
different ships.
Yeah.
Who picks the ship?
You can have so when you queue, you can have a like ship. I think they call it a suggestion or something. So it's kind of a culmination of the other 3 people. And I think it's kind of randomized if you're playing with random people. But those ships are pretty, there's pretty big variance between the ships. Like the base ship, all the doors can be opened by anyone. There's a more armored ship that I think is slower, where all the doors on the front are locked on the outside, but there's one door in the back that can be opened by anyone. So that becomes a major entry point. But you can also shoot out the glass on the ship if you have enough like ammunition and big enough guns to do that. Oxygen comes into play. There's a robot character that ignores oxygen. Like there's a bunch of different things going on. I think it is a good experience. It's just they got to get it in front of a lot of people, which they might have a hard time doing when it comes to marketing. Because the same thing we were talking about with Marathon, there's a lot of options these days when it comes to multiplayer games. And right now, most people are playing Rivals. That seems to be the big one. And they keep putting out very attractive models. And so more
super attractive gameplay elements.
Yeah, more people tend to float to Emma Thighs. Let's just go with Emma Thighs. I think that's her name. Not Frost. I don't think that's her. I think it's Emma Thighs. Yeah. They prefer that. So that just launched season 2 this past week. I haven't jumped into it, but I've heard a lot of, I've heard two big things.
Good things.
I've heard and seen good things. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to discuss here before we cut to a quick break and bring Jonathan into the mix?
That was great.
I think that's good. Zeke, anything on your radar?
Well, I obviously was playing Blueprints, but I also played Into the Dead. I've been playing that, Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days, which is it's a lot like This War of Mine.
Yeah.
But in the year 1980 in Texas during a zombie apocalypse.
As you do.
And it's fantastic. I never played This War of Mine, so I'm not sure like if I can't say like, but people from every person that's said so that was like, this looks like This War of Mine.
It is This War of Mine. Yeah.
There you go.
It's almost identical.
And I'm loving it. It's great. It has it's a management game that has lots of like moments of action. So you start at your base, right? And you build up your base. You build up, your benches, your med bench, your weapons bench, your barricade to keep the zombies out at night, and all this kind of your cooking station and all this kind of stuff. But it's not overwhelming as far as the number of things that you can build, at least not in early access, because it is still in early access. But it's a nice amount of management, go out and scavenge. And the scavenging parts can get very like hectic, like and pants shitting, I guess is an adjective.
That's a technical term. Yeah.
It's a very
because like there's certain survivors that you can pick up survivors along the way. We start with 2, but you can pick up more along the way. And you get to like, these are my favorites. And they're good at scavenging. And then if you get into a situation where you're like, oh shit, there's no way out of this area without like, I've run out of weapons. Weapons have like durability. I know, but
terrible.
They do have durability. They also have noise levels and stuff like that. So, stabbing someone with a knife, stabbing a zombie with a knife is a lot quieter than hitting somebody with a baseball bat, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times you don't realize like how many there are around you. So you'll be like, okay, I'm going to stealth kill this zombie. And you're like, bap, bap, bap with the baseball bat. And then you'll see like someone from a bathroom, like come out into the foreground. Because the way the game is built, it's on a plane that's 2D.
Yeah.
But around the 2D are side zombies.
Oh.
And if you make noise, the side zombies will come into play.
I hate a side zombie.
you can sneak past them. You can do a little crouchy sneak past them and they won't bother you. But the moment you make noise, i.e. hit another zombie, search stuff, and you're too close to a side zombie, it becomes a real zombie, quote unquote, in play. So you got to be quiet the whole time. And I'll just tell you, like, one of the most like terrifying things that I've done in this game so far is go through the fucking police station. Because the police station has this room that is just full of like 100 fucking zombies that are not in play. So you are walking through that just like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Like every step is like, oh shit, oh shit. And the thing is, like, death is permanent, you know? You can't get that character back. And they all have perks. Like this character, that my favorite scavenger, Penny is her name. She's good with a knife. She's very quiet when she's searching. But she has night terrors. So that's, give and take. Everybody has their own thing. But she's great. And I will be the first to admit that sometimes this game crashes at opportune times when you don't want your character to be dead.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh God, I hate when that happens.
I know. God, those random crashes when you reload reload the checkpoint and thankfully the character's back alive, but man, those crashes, crazy.
Oh, it's just terrible.
But yeah, I've been loving it. I'm going to continue to play it. I've been splitting my days the last couple of days, splitting it with starting with Into the Dead and then doing blueprints at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been really fun.
Zeke, you think I'd like this game? Strippin was telling me to play it.
I don't know. I don't know if it was fast enough for you.
Okay. All
like
right.
You don't seem like
the tension seems fun. From what I saw.
The tension is very fun.
Yeah.
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 The tension is very fun. But you do have to do like you're pretty much forced into doing stealth a lot.
Mm.
Okay.
But
what game is it? Game's always down there.
Yeah, it is rewarding though. Like the sneaky kills are fun. Like if you can set them up right, they're great. Like, you bash them with a bat or you use like a makeshift axe and you chop their heads and it's great. It's fun.
Yeah. I like Zomboid, so I might be into this. Zomboid's got a lot of sneaking. And
if you like Zomboid, if that's your speed, you will definitely like this gameplay loop.
All right. I might check it out.
It's faster than Zomboid.
Yeah.
I would say.
Oh, is it? Okay. I never played Zomboid. Yeah.
JP, talk about Inzoi.
You might like that game, Zeke.
I'll have to talk about Inzoi next week. Yeah, you would. I think you would like Zomboid, by the way.
Is it Project Zomboid?
Yes. Yeah. It's very hardcore though. I mean, we've talked about it on the show. It good length, but
it does take.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons I bounced off it.
I have 1.1 hours in it, and I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Has JP ever played This War of Mine?
No, but I'm very familiar with it, and I know just from Zeke, Strippin, seeing clips of Burke play this game that it's very gruesome and very much like you're gonna die, and it's not gonna go well. It's very dour. So
the thing is though, the thing that this game balances really well is greed versus life. It's I can get out with my life right now, but I don't have much. I didn't get much when I came here. So I only have one broken bottle left to defend myself. We go. Fuck it, we ball. And you go in and you're like gathering up all this shit and you accidentally stab the wrong zombie.
As you do.
And you're like, oh.
They were loud.
And the horde comes after you. And the worst part about it is first of all, always have an escape plan. Always have an escape plan. Because if you don't,
it's good advice.
You're gonna get
just
surrounded
in general.
And you're gonna have a bad time.
Fair enough.
And then the game crashes. Oh, terrible.
Then it crashes on you, Zeke.
Yeah, just terrible.
Then it crashes. All right, let's take a quick break. People are wanting to hear from Jonathan, so we'll bring him into the fold. I want to do a sound check and everything off stream, so that you guys don't see that, because professionalism and all that stuff. And then we'll come back and talk to him for the next 90 minutes. We got a long time. I wonder if we'll fill that. We'll see. We'll be right back, though. Don't go anywhere.
I'm gonna go make some coffee.
Okay, Co's gonna go make some coffee. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm not gonna cut the VOD, so skip ahead 3 minutes. We'll see you in just a sec. the new class. I know nothing about PoE, but I heard it's bad. Well, maybe for inexperienced gamers. Chat, what did I say? I was opening a VOD for PoE. What was that? Did I say anything fun and controversial? Anyways, we're waiting on Co's coffee. Hopefully that wasn't the clip where I was telling Jonathan, yeah. Oh, I talked about tariffs? Great, super light content. Fantastic. What is this music that we're listening to? Oh. All right, Co's sitting back down. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Drop Frames. We are now joined by Mr. Rogers. First name Jonathan. Has everyone ever called you Mr. Rogers, by the way, Jonathan?
Not really, to be honest. It's not something I'm used to hearing.
Are we on a first name basis then? Is that what you're saying? Or should I just?
I would say so.
Okay.
I mean, I'd kind of love to keep calling him Mr. Rogers.
I think for the entirety of the show, Mr. Rogers is his name. You know, we treat our guests with dignity, and that Mr. Rogers, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. It's what, 6:30 for you right now?
Yeah, it's pretty early in the morning. As we go through, you'll probably see the sun slowly rise up in the background there.
We can have a sunrise together. This is great.
Would you say that it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, Mr. Rogers?
Yet to be seen.
JP, we want repeat guests. We want guests to come back, and when you do stuff like that, they don't want to come back.
Everyone likes Mr. Rogers. Everyone's a fan. They get him all the way down in New Zealand, you know?
I notice you're doing an unintentional New Zealand segment right now, because I believe the last game you were just talking about is also a New Zealand developed game. So,
oh, really?
You know, you've got, yeah. They're made by, I believe that's made by Pickpock, the game you were just showing, who's there in Wellington. So, you've got your thematic segment going on here.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was all planned from the start. Me and
from the start.
Yeah,
ignore those. Oh, really? As we just said, that was all part of the part of the show.
We're gonna edit them out in post. We'll find.
I don't know if you know them personally, but they were in my chat. One of the devs was in my chat while I was playing the game, and they were delightful.
Oh wow,
fantastic! I do know, Mario, who's kind of the head of the studio. I'm good friends with. So.
You know Mario?
Oh, nice.
From the Mr. Mario from Nintendo.
Cut it. Stop.
I thought he was Italian. He's from New Zealand.
JP, stop.
Jonathan, we are so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, you made it. You work on a game or something?
Yeah. Jonathan, you're the co-founder, game director on Path of Exile 2. Give me like the quick and dirty of how you came to be at GGG, Grinding Gear Games, and how you are in your current role. If there is a quick and dirty of that.
Yeah. So effectively, as you said, I'm one of the founders of the company. I was a founder right out of university. I was friends with my best friend at the time, and still the case, Chris Wilson. We just were like, we absolutely want to make a game. We knew we wanted to make what we definitely referred to as a sequel to Diablo 2. We were just like, no one's making this. We need to do it. We just formed a game company to do it. That's really the long and the short of it, to be honest.
Fantastic. So been there, how many years is that then at the company?
Oh, I mean, it was 2006, so I suppose 19 years.
Don't do the math.
And now we're all old.
Yeah. Actually, I realized recently that our company is more than half the age of the internet, which was kind of like a terrifying realization I had the other day.
I thought Mr. Rogers is supposed to bring like happiness and joy and a feeling of goodness to.
And the chat goes aware.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
I mean, honestly, an even more terrifying thing the other day is I was talking to someone. Sorry, I'm not going to have this digression right now. The other day,
Get it all out. Get it all out.
Yeah, I was talking to someone in the studio, and I made a reference to Jurassic Park, and someone didn't understand it, and I was like, "How the hell do you not understand a Jurassic Park reference? Like, what's going on?" Oh no.
You'll probably get a kick out of this, Jonathan. In so many games, including the most recent one, KCD2, on the like save your schnapps, there's an icon of a floppy disk to represent saving.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have no idea what that reference is for, just zero. Yeah. Anytime they see the save icon, they're just like, that's just some weird icon game devs use for saving. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, okay.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Right. Jonathan, what games did you grow up on? I guess is where we'll start. Like, and specifically, what games outside of ARPGs? Because obviously you had a strong influence from ARPGs, right?
Just a little,
for sure.
Just a smidgen.
I mean, it's honestly a variety. Like people have often asked me, like, what are my favorite games of all time, and it's like a really hard question. I'm trying to think like the really standout ones might be like StarCraft and Warcraft, but also like Half-Life, like absolutely. Quake, definitely. Final Fantasy 7 and through 9, like these were games that I loved growing up, but also like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot and this kind of thing as well. Like it's kind of like a huge variety of different kind of things that when I was growing up. I mean, a lot of shooters as well, like just first person shooters. Like I played a lot of those. I mentioned Half-Life specifically because it's like the real standout, of course. But I honestly I wish there were more single player shooters. Is a serious thing in this day and age, because like, that's something that it's a genre I honestly miss. Yeah. But like that. Just all kinds of things really.
So I just heard GGG is going to make a single player shooter. Is that correct?
That's what I heard.
So honestly, that is probably not even
you play as
my wheelhouse as far as skills are concerned.
Go and just blast everyone. It's going to be fantastic. Coming soon. Well, that's
Path
fantastic.
of immersive shooting.
Yeah. That's fantastic. You've had, let's say, a busy first week after the Point 2 launch. This is, I guess, the start of your Monday, right? The start of week 2 of the new patch. I hope you got some rest over the weekend, first off.
I feel like we should just start with, so how we feeling?
Yeah.
How we doing?
Well, I mean, it's been a week for sure. And it's like, I would definitely say we've never had so we've had a few cases that have been close to this, I would say, in the past, in terms of like the community being very unhappy about a lot of things. But this one was certainly taking the cake as far as that is concerned. But I mean, at the end of the day, the response is always the same thing, right? Like we hear what people say, we try things out, we see if we, like what we agree with, and then we try to find solutions that are going to fix, any kind of problem that the community have, and we keep on doing that. We keep iterating. I would say one of the things that that's been going on this time is there's certainly like an urgency at the moment to feel like, okay, we have to make sure that everything we're doing, we're like telling people that immediately. We certainly wouldn't post like patch notes every day normally. So normally, of course, that stuff's sort of happening in the background. But we really wanted to make sure people are understanding the fact that we are kind of like looking into these things and improving things. So that's certainly been a bit of a ride. But like I'm certainly a believer that the more we do that, the more like the people will will effectively be happy once we've made fixes to all of the different things they're unhappy about. The hardest part, honestly, is just identifying the problems.
Right.
And I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things where, like, so for example, like a lot of people were talking about like monster speed, and it's like, okay, so when people are talking about that, they're talking about getting swarmed by monsters, right? And so then it's like, okay, well, why do you feel like you're getting swarmed by monsters? And then one of the things that we found, which we patch noted last week, is there was this system that monsters had where if they were doing like a multi-part combo, then there was a thing called an interrupt event where effectively, like, if the player got out of range of the monster, they would interrupt doing that skill and then continue chasing you immediately. And that means that effectively you didn't get a chance to kind of like if a monster starts attacking, like they're doing like a sort of 3-hit combo, they'll do the first one, you'll be backing off from it, and then they'll immediately start running again, and then immediately start the combo again. And so that kind of thing just makes them feel incredibly frantic.
They're
just like certain monster types that just have that real frenetic kind of frantic feeling. And so we disabled that on almost all monsters as an example. And like immediately it's like now when you're fighting those monsters, like even though like we haven't changed the speed of the monsters per se, we just found the thing that made them feel ultra fast as you're fighting against them. And it's kind of like it's really just a continuous sequence of like finding things like that. And when you obviously, we have like a lot of monsters in our game, like huge numbers of them. I mean, the eventual count of monsters we will have once we exit early access will be over 700. But even now, I think we've got over around 400 or something like that. It's like a ridiculous number compared to what most games have. And so it's like, you go back to some of these monsters and it's like, I don't even remember what was going on with this monster when we developed it. It's like this was a while ago. Like I don't know what's going on. So the monster guys kind of have to have a look at these things and sort of refresh their memories and like, okay, what the heck is it? How is this thing even set up? Like, what's even going on with this thing? Let's find out. So there's kind of a lot of that going on. So it just takes a while to kind of like assess these things and work out. So we did our first batch of those types of changes last week, but we're still sort of looking into things, and like those are the kind of the more obvious ones. But honestly, with a game like ours, like the more you look, the more you find. Like there's sort of an infinite ability for like problems to hide in the ridiculous amounts of numbers and animations and sort of things like that. So it's just a matter of finding everything, and if we can find everything, then I have no doubt that people will enjoy the game much more.
Is that
speaking
just...
of
Go ahead, Zeke.
Just speaking of all those monsters, I'd be interested to learn is there like I wonder if there's like a shorthand, like for the like certain groups of monsters like Bruce, Chad, Doug, like these are the monsters like that, like so you don't say like epic beast from the hell pit of blah 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 blah. So you just say like that's Dan. Or that's
they do have internal names. I don't know if Dan is one of them, but they do have internal names, and that'll just be whatever the artist happened to name the folder when they were creating the model in the first place. Like just whatever they happen to choose, that'll tend to be the name. And there's certainly some kind of random ones in there, but that's for the data miners to find, I suppose.
Are any of them hilarious?
Yeah, is there a Chad?
I'm sure they are, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. I think at some point, so in PoE 1 actually,
Dan the Harbinger of Hell.
Some of the boss of Act 3 is just called Pope. So like there are things like that because I think that's what they were looking at when they were designing it. But it's like I think in PoE 2 they actually started to get a little bit more rigorous with trying to make sure the names aren't super out there. So yeah, most of the names are kind of not too out there, but generally speaking, I mean, look, almost everything's going to have a different name than what it's called in the game, just because the naming part is like the last part, and usually, and even on like streams and so on, I'll often refer to things by their internal names, like even just areas and stuff like that, because that's what they're originally called.
Yeah. Anything in the game
you learned them, yeah.
After you, Jonathan? Is there
no, not at all.
All right. Nothing like that.
I want to go noob Saibot in this.
Yeah, no noob Saibot at all. I want to go back to what you said in terms of like the monsters and finding what's wrong. And is that just purely a numbers game? Like, are you constantly playing the game, reading comments? Like, how do you attack that when you're, when the internet is screaming? How do you like cut the noise and figure out exactly what is actually at fault? Well,
the key thing really is that I'm never going to make a change unless I can reproduce the suck for myself. Like I'm not going to just believe someone when they say this is bad. I'm going to like say, okay, so you're telling me that's bad. Great. I'm going to play this. I'm going to try and get to a situation where I can understand why you're feeling this way. Because if I don't do that and we just make random from the hip changes, then, it's not going to result in a game that I'm happy with. And that's kind of important because, in order to make the game good, it's really important that the people who are at the top level are playing that game every day. I have to be making a game that I'm enjoying. So effectively, like I need to be finding the things that are going to like make the game more fun for me and the players without making it less fun for me effectively. So that's kind of the key for me, I suppose. So when it comes to that specific monster change, I mean, I have to admit that was actually like Mark who discovered that one, not myself. But the that particular change is kind of one of those things. And by the way, the area that you're showing on screen right now, like that is an example of one of the monster sets that did have this problem. Like those monsters were like incredibly vicious. Like it's just a matter of like, okay, let's play this area, let's try and like a variety of builds. Let's see if we can find a build that feels overwhelming and bad and that kind of stuff. And you've got a lot of blind spots when you're playing as a game director because you know how to play, right? So you have to like often set challenges for yourself. Like, now I'm going to play without this. Now I'm going to play with this thing. Like one of the key things that's really important as well is I'd like to do run-throughs where I pick the thing that I would least want to pick. So whenever the game presents me an option, I pick the thing I most don't want to pick and then see how it goes.
Sure.
And that can result in obviously you do have to have like options that you can make where you can make mistakes, but you still have to understand what the lowest bound is as far as like, if I picked everything bad, if I'm doing all the worst ideas here, what kind of experience do I have? And so that's something that that you also
call those streamer runs, by the way.
But it is definitely, I mean, okay, but it's interesting though, because I think that is one of the things with the Huntress, I think that's been really interesting is that, and this is maybe going to sound a bit bad, but it's like most of the time when I'm watching a streamer playing the Huntress, they're playing it not as I would play.
Judge me, Jonathan.
You can say,
tell me that I suck, Jonathan.
You can say wrong. You can say that. You can be like, most of the time I watch streamers play the Huntress, they're playing it wrong.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, look, at the end of the day, though, it's like, okay, if people aren't like playing in a way that I expect, it's because we haven't communicated the way we want people to play it, or people have tried it and they've not enjoyed it and that kind of stuff, right? So at the end of the day, it's always on us still. But it's it's just one of those things that well, you learn a lot from playing. And I think it's interesting as well because when I went into this launch with the Huntress in particular, I was kind of like, look, regardless of any other changes we made, regardless of any content, I was like, I know the Huntress is fun. Like I've been playing it, and I really, really love it. Like it is my favorite class that we have made.
Oh.
So then that kind of then took me very by surprise when there were a lot of concerns about the Huntress at the start. It really comes down to those sort of play style things, right? Where like, with the parries and the and disengage, like the whole like sort of in-out gameplay style, like I was really, really enjoying that. And a lot of our staff are as well, right? Like we've got a lot of people who are like, yeah, man, this is really awesome. Like it's got a sort of feeling of action that we haven't had, like from the other classes to the same extent. There was that kind of stuff. And so, it was really interesting that we had quite a lot of pushback about that. So then it kind of, once again, it came down to, like we need to try the play styles that we're not trying. Like we need to, I need to try doing things that I wouldn't otherwise try and then find out why, if those things are the problem.
Sure.
So out of curiosity, and this is going to sound like a basic question, but I kind of love your thinking on this. When you get to a situation where you are having to personally choose between something that is more fun or more balanced, how do you approach that?
So on the development team, I would say I'm usually the one who is pushing for more fun over more balanced. There are also countervailing opinions on the team as well for like people who have to who have to make sure that the balance is good. And it is important.
They're probably like, no, stop having fun. Balance.
That's not the way that I would look at it, but it's kind of like, so I mean, I definitely push in that direction, but it's kind of like at the same time there is this concern where I always want the game to be readable and understandable and kind of be able to sort of see what's going on. And so sometimes like there's a level of stuff that I tend to be a little bit more like, I'm a little bit uneasy about this, but I tend to be the one pushing for like, everything should work. If you expect it to work, it should work. And like you should be able to do all these combinations and things like that. The issue that you get is that if there are things that are just way more powerful than other things, then it's going to push everyone to play that. And that's going to mean that you sort of lose build diversity, and then there's a fun that you're losing from that. That's a little bit harder to immediately identify, but it is important. like there's a kind of long-term fun that you get from the fact that you play this game and there's so many different things you can try. And it's not immediately obvious as you're playing your single build on a single playthrough, where you just want your thing to be powerful. But it's like, we just have to like get to some level of balance and stuff along those lines. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm kind of like, let people be able to do crazy stuff. Like that is important to me. So long as it's kind of like, like so long as you get that feeling of progression all through the game from beginning to end effectively.
Cool. Sure. Very cool. Yeah. Have you ever thought about streaming your own gameplay? Would you ever like open up the almost Pandora's
Could you ever show
box?
us how to play a huntress?
Yeah, like just to see. Like I see that question so much from the community. Like, well, how do you play it then? And I think it would do well.
This thought crossed my mind actually in the last week, I must admit.
Yeah.
And I kind of realized I think what I'll do next time when we play like between the week where we announce like do our live stream and announce the class and the time when we actually like have the release, I think I actually might do some development streams and just like sort of show people my gameplay. It's interesting because awesome. Yeah. I mean, like, I guess there's no real reason I shouldn't do that. Like, I mean, it's probably.
You're going to get criticized, of course, but like, you're going to do that regardless of if you stream or not.
Well, I was going to say you're already halfway there. I mean, your outreach to the community and doing these interviews with all the people that you have. I mean, you're essentially doing that already. Yeah. So just doing it while playing is the next step. But yeah, that'd be instrumental. Enough. Like, I got to say, it would have been very interesting to see the Huntress release after having seen somebody who knows the ins and outs of it utilize it effectively. Because I can tell you the first hour, I was just like, okay, wait, am I supposed to do this? Or can I just do my one button combo? Or am I supposed to like, so like it's so different and fun, but it was alien. It was not my, it was not like, I'm not used to this. So I didn't know if I was doing it right. So it could be really cool.
The thing is, I mean, I'm like, that feeling of this is alien is actually something that I want when we release a new class, because if we're not doing that, then we're not actually making new classes, really, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Like it's kind of supposed to be that each class has a different feel entirely. I mean, like that isn't necessarily always going to be 100% the case to this degree, but yeah, certainly as far as action RPGs are concerned, I don't really know if there's something quite like this in another sort of like, in what you would in the action RPG system. When I refer to action RPGs here, I'm talking about top-down Diablo style games, right? That's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot else, like this type of combat around. So then that is what we want to do. And I guess the thing that's interesting as well is that I sort of also suspect that if the Huntress had been in just the set of characters that we had launched at the start of early access, it would have also been quite a different feeling then as well, because then it would have just been like, okay, here's one of the options for the people who like this kind of like parry and really fast motion type of play style, like we're they're sort of bounding around and doing like dexterous melee. And that would have been, because I mean they're like the people who love that. But then obviously there are people who are like, I find parrying awkward, I don't like this or that or the other thing. And then for those people, like obviously other classes may be better. So if it had been launched in that same pack, I think we might have got quite a different reaction from that class in particular. Of course, there's like many other things that people are unhappy about as well, which we're kind of working on.
Sure.
But like that in terms of that particular like class reaction, I think that would have changed things quite a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned parrying, and as someone who has about 60-ish hours on the Huntress, currently tier 15 maps, I haven't parried since I was like level 10. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for you to hear that a player just completely disregarded maybe the core element of a core element of the class for you?
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, I suppose, but it is something that I think that it was a blind spot for me, because when I was playing, like all the way through, I was using parry all the time, because that sort of parry disengage into using a spear combo is something that I was using right from the beginning till the end.
Right.
So that, like, I mean, the idea of that was, like you sort of unlocked all the things that you can do with the with the twisters and stuff like that. And so I think that because we added that extra skill like right after launch, that means that no longer is that combo. Like I don't know if you're using that either, that color weak skill, but you might just be using frenzy charges from other source, because that's the other thing as well, is the frenzy charges then become sort of easier using other sources as you go through the game. So I'm curious if are you using frenzy charges at all is the first question.
No. I never said I'm a good build. Okay. Full disclosure, in PoE 1, I probably have like 2,400, 2,500 hours. Right. Never done my own build. I've always followed a guide. In PoE 2, I've never followed a guide just because of how the game's released with its updates. There's not really guides to follow. So I kind of just like picked things that I enjoyed. And so this time around I'm using like Spearfield with Bleed and Knockback, Rake, and is it Herald
so you're going
of
all
Blood?
Bleed. Okay,
Yeah,
so
more Bleed, more explosions and things like that.
But look, in that case, like the Bleed sort of style of the Huntress doesn't really rely on the sort of parry stuff. But if you're doing the elemental stuff or the whirlwinds, then you definitely want to be getting frenzy charges and doing that whole thing. And yeah, like effectively. We didn't have a way of getting frenzy charges for the first kind of like 50% of the campaign effectively in an easy manner. So that was kind of, and effectively that meant that if you wanted to do, unless you were going Bleed, then if you wanted to use all of the elemental spears, you effectively had to do the parry stuff in order to get frenzy charges. Right. And so but what we effectively did to ameliorate that, if people didn't want to parry, there's adding this Cull the Weak skill that allows you to get frenzy charges anyway, and that means that you've got access to that whole side of the build, and it is powerful, right? Like those enhanced spear throws are,
like Cull the Weak with lightning spear was crazy. Yeah.
But I mean, even the other ones as well, especially because what they do is they for the other ones they all unlock ground effects like fire and lightning and stuff like that, which then you can infuse with your into your whirling slash, which you then use with the twisters. And so like that kind of stuff is like my primary, like the build that I played all the way to endgame. Because I don't actually have time to play literally every build to endgame. That'd be completely impossible.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
Development time. But the build that I was playing all the way to endgame was using the whirling slash twisters, and then with barrage as well. Like which means that you can get like a huge number of twisters. That like using ground effects. So that was effectively the build I was playing, and that involved using the parry to kind of get it started. But then I also was using Fangs of Frost to freeze monsters, and I kind of had two variations of the combo. Like you could either parry into Fangs of Frost if you wanted to have like if you wanted a faster combo for like more like just clearing, or you could use like parry disengage for more for longer fights against rares or against like bosses or something like that. So that was kind of like what I was doing for like through to end game. But I mean, like obviously there's like, we try other things. We, have a lot of different experiments. But there's actually this phenomenon that's like kind of annoying, which is that unless you actually play a class from the beginning, there's something about it that just doesn't quite work in testing. Like it's, you never get the same feeling unless you actually play through on the character. Like if you just make a character and at endgame, and then like you're like, okay, I'm going to put all these skills on it, and you sort of feel you might think that you have the right idea about what the items should be, but somehow it just never quite feels the same as when you've leveled up yourself. And so I actually don't tend to do that very often when I'm playing. And I honestly, I don't even know if I can fully explain why that is. But there is something important about that process that kind of gets you to a state of a character and like,
Well, it's because the character is not just a thing; it's the experience you have playing it to where it is. Like it's when you have a PoE character, it's like, because we've talked about that frequently. Because like one of the reasons of using builds or having a character played for you, which I know is kind of a hot topic with shared accounts and stuff. Thanks, Elon. But it's very much. I feel the exact same way. It's like a lot of RPG. You got to have the whole experience to understand every ability, every class. Now I know understanding it's not part of you, but still, for it to be yours and your journey and everything, you kind of have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, there absolutely is an understanding of abilities because once again, if I, like, even for me, right, if we create an ability and then I just tried at a high level without actually doing a playthrough that earned it, this is actually one of those things, by the way, that actually was, okay, so the reason why the Huntress, I mean, this is true of any class we didn't add, but the reason why the Huntress wasn't ready is we had a bunch of abilities that were effectively designed without doing the playthroughs, right? Like we would make an ability, like this is before, right? We'd make an ability, we would put it in the game, we'd try it on a character that we had pre-constructed and be like, oh yeah, this ability, like does this, right? But like, until we realized at some point that like, when you actually were playing and then you got the, like, when you were actually playing and then had the ability to select it for yourself, it completely changed the vibe of like how that skill felt like it's like it's important that you actually test the part where you're actually trying to weave it into a build that you've got going through, and so without that you actually don't even have really an ability that you've actually tested and know that's good. And there are even like some abilities I would say still in the game now that that didn't have, didn't get enough attention from that part of the experience, and so it's something that I think we can actually improve even on some existing classes as well, with some abilities that were maybe a little bit rushed or things like that. So that experience is actually important. And I actually think that the Huntress's abilities as far as that experience is better than some of the other classes for this reason, because I was spending more times because I was specifically this whole time from the time when we launched early access till now kind of doing Huntress, playing Huntress, and and sorting that. It kind of meant that it got even more individualized attention than what I think some of the other classes actually got in that way.
Yeah. Would you say that's how you're going to treat the time between every patch moving forward? Did it feel like that was constructive enough and a proper way of spending your time, I guess is how I'll frame the question?
Well, I mean, the issue with that, of course, is that I wasn't paying as much attention to other things that were problems, right? Which is definitely a concern.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting because I think that one of the issues that we had. Okay, so I'm gonna blame Christmas. This is what I'm gonna blame for all of our problems here.
Oh my God, the war on Christmas continues.
Right,
oh no, here we go.
Santa Claus, we're coming after you.
So what happens is that so we release early access, right? And then we've got 3 weeks before everyone's off in their break. And during that 3 weeks, we're in this mode where we're responding to problems and we're trying to fix things and everything happens. And then we've got 3 weeks where where Christmas happens and everyone kind of goes away. We've lost the context of even being in the mode of we're responding to what the players are complaining about, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it's bear in mind as well at the start of early access that 7 out of 10 people are talking to me are being oh wow, the game's amazing, it's so cool, because what they're doing is they're playing through the game for the first time, they're experiencing all the bosses, they're experiencing all just the graphics and the art, and everything's cool, right? So they're all oh wow, the game's amazing, right? And so you got a bunch of people who are also talking about problems, and those are real problems, right? But they're being drowned out by the positivity of everyone experiencing this new game for the first time.
Sure.
And so nothing that the players are complaining about today is something that people weren't complaining about back then. It's just that they weren't the loudest voices in the room at the time, and now they are.
Right.
So effectively, you've got that thing, and so effectively, so after Christmas, right, we come back and we're okay, we need to get this Huntress out. I'm going to focus all my efforts on getting this class out that we're doing, and by then it's we kind of had our eye off the ball, as it were, about what are the issues that are sort of happening in the community as much, because we're okay, we're focusing on this next expansion. That disconnect, I think, was a real problem between those two time periods. And so this time, I'm actually, and it seems obvious, but it's I'm actually taking time in the scope doc for the next patch. So I mean, we've obviously got a document which is the scope for 030, right? We've got a document for that. We sort of know what we're planning on doing for that. We've got in that scope document at the very top, make sure the players aren't going to be unhappy about this, make sure the players aren't going to be happy about this, and here's 6 things that we just want to make sure we're actually doing something about this, as we're considering how 030 is going to come together, so that we don't kind of make that mistake of kind of forgetting about all of the things that are sort of outstanding issues, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that shouldn't be a problem again next time. But I guess that's kind of the main thing, right? It's just making sure that we don't forget about the fact that as we're making content, that we also need to be addressing those kind of underlying issues as well. So that's kind of what we're doing there.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting negative comments and negativity generally, when you're making a new addition, a patch, whatever you want to call it, to the game, do you have a meeting with your crew that's okay, this is going to make some people mad, so we're going to batten down the hatches and we're going to weather this storm, but we'll come out the other side of it, because in the long run, we all believe that it's a good change. Is there a lot of that shit happening?
I wouldn't say that it is like that exactly, except for so here's a discussion that we did have. So effectively, when we launched early access, we had a whole bunch of things that were out of control as far as balance is concerned. There were just some things that were just trivializing shit in a way that was bad. And so what we started doing right at the start was we started nerfing those things, right? We kind of was okay, this is early access. We're gonna nerf a bunch of things. And immediately we got huge pushback from that. And understandable, right? Like for me, it is understandable, because if you're playing like actively and then someone nerfs what you're doing, you're going to be unhappy about that, and rightfully so, right? Like I was playing and now my character is ruined, right? And the funny thing is that what we thought we were doing, even when we were doing that, like we're mindful of this, right? Like we even thought as we were doing that, like, okay, we're going to nerf things, but we're not going to nerf them to the point where they're bad. We're just going to nerf them to like, we're going to have some like upper bound of like what we're allowing, and we're going to try and just nerf it down to that point. So like the stuff that people is playing that, they're playing because it's part of the meta, we're just going to, we're not going to nerf it even as much as we might want to. We're just going to do like a temporary nerf to get this thing kind of like not trivializing shit. So that's what we thought we were doing. So we started doing that. And we did that for like, I don't know how long it was. It might have been like a week, honestly. And then immediately it's like we just got huge amounts of pushback from people. So we're like, okay, we can't do this. So like, how are we going to be able to do all these changes that we know we need to make in order to kind of get things more in line? And the reason why it's important to get things in line is because we need to, as I said before, we need to make sure there's build diversity. Like you're not only playing like one of like a few, just a few things. And so for that one, we definitely knew, look, whenever we've done nerfs in the past, it's been, it's caused anger. And so then we're like, okay, but in order to offset that, we need to make sure that we've got things like, a new class, that we've got like new in-game content, we've got like enough new stuff that people aren't going to dwell on the nerfs as much, or at least that was the theory. Now, in reality, there was a kind of an effect that I don't think I had appreciated before, that kind of now I think is kind of also another source of a lot of issues, which is that like we made a bunch of people who thought, and maybe this is going to come out slightly wrong, but like they thought they knew how to play the game, feel like that they suck now, and that is a bad feeling.
Well, they learned
right?
one
That's a
thing
really
and
bad
then you
feeling to give
changed the
someone,
thing, right? Yeah.
Right. So effectively, it's like there were a lot of things that I would say were like, well, okay, effectively any change can do this, right? It's like if you've got a thing and you know how you're playing a thing, and then we make a change where now the thing you were doing before sucks and is bad. Now your immediate feeling is like, that like I know how to play the game, and yet this is sucking, so therefore the game is bad. And like they're not necessarily wrong to feel that way either, right? Like making people feel like they suck is a feeling that nobody is ever going to enjoy, right? Like it's a feeling that is bad. So effectively, like that is the thing that we effectively did to a bunch of people who were relying on the various things that that were happening. Now the good news is that now that we've gotten things into a much more sort of normalized place, as far as like, think like the outliers are not too crazy, like everything's kind of in a more normal place. That means that we can actually start looking at things from the perspective of like, okay, now we can buff things to make them more fun. We can do all these things, like we can improve stuff. But we did have to get to a point of like somewhat normalization in the balance. Like they did have to happen. And I honestly don't know if there was a way we could have done that would have been fun for people to experience. Like
yeah,
when you nerf like everything players are doing, it's not going to be a fun time. Like it's just not going to be.
So wait, based on what you said, hey Reddit, nerfs are done. No more nerfs. Oh, we're good.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
We've been notified. They're good.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that make me feel like I'm shit at the game, the ascendancies, specifically the third and fourth.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about those right now in the current stage of Path of Exile 2? Because for me personally, the third one is brutal. Like I abhor doing it. I abhor everything about the process.
I think that is mostly around monster work. So ascendancy monsters are quite hard. Well, okay, specifically Sanctum, the monsters have got like you effectively have to design every monster in Sanctum like a boss in terms of telegraphing and all that sort of stuff, and it takes quite a lot of work. Like it's harder than a normal monster to make, and there's more we can do there, because that was also one of the last areas that got the monster work done before early access. I think it's probably got some of the roughest monster work as well.
Okay.
So there's quite a lot that we have to do there, like to just improve it. And like we're sort of slowly doing some of that work, but I don't think we did enough of that in the last launch that we just did. So there's more to do there, and that's all those like just devil in the details type of work where we just need to sort of just improve monsters to feel better, and we'll get that over time and it'll be done. But effectively, yeah, we just need to keep on doing more. That being said, like, it is supposed to be the case that Ascension is supposed to be like a point in your character where you feel like, it is supposed to be harder than the content that surrounds it. It's supposed to be like a moment of, feeling, like you earned something here. Like if Ascension was just a pushover, then it's like, well, yeah, you don't get that feeling of earning it, right? But at the same time, there's definitely monster problems that we have in those both of the Ascension classes, Ascension trials.
It was for me specifically. It was the Sanctum, and I didn't like Sanctum in PoE 1. So there's that's a problem to begin with for me, like a personal problem. And I know a lot of that can be fixed with like the get good mentality. And for what it's worth, I ended up getting good.
JP, if you were playing Huntress, right? I mean,
yeah, I ended up getting good and I ascended, and I got the power that I wanted from that. The process was to just experience that. It wasn't to like go in there on the first try and get the ascendancy point like it was in PoE 1 with labs. It was to go in there, get some honor resistance, kind of build up the actual relics and things like that, and really get involved in the process. And then I ascend. Is that always going to be that process to where you,
how many runs,
have to build up to
how many runs did it take is the question I have for you.
4, with one of them being under leveled because I was just farming relics.
Right. I would say that,
I think 4.
I would say 2 or 3 is more than what I would want for the third Ascension. Well, to be honest, probably for the first few, like that sort of 2 or 3 kind of zone is kind of more what I would expect. Is right. But obviously it sort of is dependent, right? Like a good player should be able to do it in one once they know how to, once they know how to do that stuff, or they know what the build is like. And that
you mentioned it. Some of those mobs just are brutal, like the sandworm mobs. Those things destroyed my honor, especially if I'm fighting like a rare summoning portal or something, and having issues killing them in the first place. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, some of the monsters are just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to like individual cases and that sort of stuff. Like we just have to make sure that they're all good. And as I said, we've got so many monsters that it's like hard to even, like it takes a long time to go through this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Something that really like sunk home to me just now, like just recently during this conversation, was like the fact that it's still in early access. And it's weird to think that, because it seems like such a polished, finished product. Like, even though there's obviously it's not done yet, but like even my 50 hours in it was like, oh, this feels like it didn't feel like an incomplete game at all. It didn't feel like early access. So I think we tend to forget that it's still in early access, and we forget that that we agreed to buy it in early access. So we should be, I mean, I'm not trying to like kiss your ass or anything, but like we should be more forgiving. Right?
I actually don't fully know if I even agree that because a player, like, we don't have any right to a player's forgiveness, really. Like, at the end of the day, like, people have the experiences they have, and we just have to live with that. And it's like, I mean, look, if we're going to sell a product, then, people should have the expectation they're going to enjoy the product that they're buying, right? Like, like sure, we call it early access, and that it is, right? Like, that is a label that does something as far as like player expectations is concerned, and that is important. But at the end of the day, you still have to deliver a product that people are enjoying. So, I mean, from that perspective, like, I can't be unhappy when people are like, I can't use the excuse of, oh, it's just early access when I'm talking to players, because at the end of the day, like, that's not a constructive thing for me to even say. Like, it's like, I need to be like, okay, well, what's the issue? Let's try and find out what you don't like, right? I guess one of the things that being in early access does mean, though, is that, like, there are a lot of people who won't play something that's in early access until we're saying it's fully finished. And so that's kind of part of what you do get from being in early access, is you get to kind of, like, you get to effectively limit the number of people who are playing until you're sort of ready for that big, for that big surge of players that you'll get that full release. Sure. So, that and that's the thing. And so it's like, from that perspective, it's a very unusual early access, right? Because we had so many players. Like, I actually wonder, like, how many like pay to play early access games have even had this many sales. Like it might be kind of quite up there as far as that's concerned. So it's
probably
quite unusual.
A rare few. Yeah.
It's quite unusual in that regard.
Well, is that so? Using the current 0.2 patch, specifically like the Wisp mechanic. The Wisp mechanic is. Would you call that like the League mechanic? Like what was the bullet point next to Wisp within the design document for 0.2? I'm curious if that is like. I'll stop the question there and let you answer it, and follow up. Yeah.
So it didn't rise to the level of being a league, like what I would call a proper actual league, because we didn't have all the things that a league has, right? Like leagues have, I mean, it almost kind of got there. Like, you know, they've got crafting systems, they've got meta systems, they've got like, you know, like there has to be some way, like there has to be an in-game boss, there has to be all these things. Like some of those things we didn't have.
Yeah.
So it didn't rise to the level of being a league, and that's the reason why we in the end decided not to make it a league. We were kind of thinking it could be league-like, but we just didn't quite have enough going on with it. But the primary reason why we did the Wisps actually was because we wanted to make sure that there was more content in endgame that overlapped with other content. So one of the big things that was lacking in PoE2's endgame was not enough like overlapping axes of randomness is the thing we call this, where effectively you've got like different mechanics that overlap so that like you can get more situations that you've never seen before, where it's like, oh, what if the, you know, the Wisp happened to, happen to inhabit this boss, and then that's a different thing, or it happened to be near the strongbox, or, you know, like this, like effectively like multiple things that can overlap together to cause a new combat situation. And so, as I said, the reason we picked the Wisps was because we wanted something that could work like that and have more content that worked like that. And that ultimately will lead to an improvement in the end game. And I think a lot that sort of, as far as the content outside of the Huntress, it was that sort of stuff that we were trying to get there.
Right.
In order to improve, just effectively how the end game feels. So we'll probably be doing more of that over time. Like when we're concentrating on that kind of more league-like mechanic, that's the stuff we'll be looking at.
Yeah. So do you find that to be a hurdle given the history of your PoE1 updates, the leagues, the expansions, all of that being brought into PoE2 while the game is still in early access, to where there's like these two, progress paths of like, we got to make 0.3, we got to introduce another class, we have to set,
right.
PoE2 is not a finished game, but also we've set expectations because of people being brought over from PoE1 with these like expansions and these leagues. Is that
right.
Is that a hurdle? Like, do you kick yourself at night for like, fuck, we set this up and now we've delivered on it before, we got to do it again, however many times until the game's out of early access, until those things align?
It is a concern, but I think that it's actually important, even regardless of whether or not we were in early access, because the end game needs to have enough content at launch to make sure that people are really engaged. And like, end games are one of those things where like every action RPG that comes out, people complain that there's not enough end game content. Like it just happens every single time.
Happens with any game, yeah.
So, yeah. So effectively, what it ensures that we will have when we come to the actual full release is that we will have a lot of in-game content. And so I think that when the next release we have, like for 030, we'll probably like turn down the Wisps in the campaign, and there'll be some other thing. And like when we get to eventual release, like there might only be a few Wisps in the campaign, and like it's one of the many different random things that you can find that just effectively serve as just like interesting things that you find during the campaign. That's what it'll feel like there. But then during the end game, it's like an actual mechanic that you can then engage with and have more stuff going on with. And so effectively, it's expanding that universe of stuff that that can exist in end game, and without I think that it would have been very hard if we didn't have early access to have been able to create the amount of content that an in-game needs just kind of off the cuff like that. We need like so many different overlapping systems. I think that's sort of important.
Sure.
To have a situation like
that. To be blunt, how long did like the Wisp mechanic take for development process?
It's hard for me to even quantify because you've kind of got like a whole team, and it's like, I don't like,
There's without answering like man hours, I guess.
It reminds me so much of Abyss. I actually wanted to ask if it was related.
It's actually a little bit of it's more like the Tormented Spirits in PoE1. But it does work more like Abyss in the way that the spirits track and go along a path. So it fixes some of the issues that the tormented spirits have. But I mean, I wouldn't say it took like that long, really. Like we actually like decided to do them like not even really that early in 2.0's development. Like it didn't really take that long. I mean, consider what we needed to actually make that happen, right? And this is one of the things is that I think we are very good at as a company is like being able to leverage what we have. So what does it take to make wisps? So the actual effect for the wisps themselves is obviously like made of particles, so there's no like modeling involved in that. The animals are all animals that we had that we could do like a few animations for to make abilities. Like like we had a bear model, we had a deer model, we had like all these different things. So like those are all things that we sort of had, so we can utilize those in a completely different context that you would never see as being the same. In terms of the actual ability stuff, I mean, you've got VFX work, but not necessarily more than like a boss would take. Like it probably took about a similar amount of VFX time as a single boss might take to make that stuff. And then you've got the various mechanics around like the programming time. I mean, it wasn't really that hard. It's kind of I wouldn't say it really took that long.
Okay.
So yeah, like it's a relatively easy feature to make, and I feel like you get a reasonable amount out of it. And so it's just a question of making more things like that, just having interesting stuff to find.
So is it safe to say that alongside, new classes and all the other like early access updates, that's the type of stuff we can expect moving forward for 0.3, 0.4, and so on and so forth?
Yeah. We'll definitely be adding more content like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to when you said, obviously PoE 2 super, super successful in sales and player base. I think at launch, you guys averaged like almost double, at least Steam count players on that. How hard is it for you to like take all of those new players, and I'm going to use Zeke as an example, and I'll give you a backstory there. Zeke bounced off of PoE 1 pretty hard. He even had Ziggy running him through it as kind of a Sherpa and bounced off of it pretty hard. But with PoE 2, and I think he told you this prior to us starting the interview, he put like, 60 hours in it, Zeke, or something like that?
Yeah, 55.
How do you make a game for the Zekes, but also keep the Zizerins involved? Like, there's a huge disparity in the type of players that those two are. How do you satiate and succeed in making a game like that? Or do you feel you've already done that? Or is that the forever problem?
Well, I personally... Okay, so if you imagine the sort of Venn diagram of this, as it were.
Okay, yeah, Zeke and Ziz, the circles.
Where you've got like the things. So the question you're effectively asking is there any overlap there?
Yeah.
Right? Like, is there a place where the game can be that both of those players are happy with it? And I am a believer that yes, there is. Now, I think there are a lot of players who would say that there isn't, but I still believe that there is.
Okay.
Personally. And that is the thing the target we're attempting to hit. Now, the difficulty of that is that we're attempting to hit a smaller target, right? Because if we have to nail the dart right into the intersection of those 2 points, then that is a smaller target to hit, which means our job is more difficult. And I would say that balancing PoE 2 is actually much harder than balancing PoE 1 has been. But I think that a lot of the reasons why Path of Exile 1 had people like you bounce off them is not necessarily the same kind of reasons that people, that PoE 1 players are unhappy with PoE 2 right now. I think that those reasons are just incidental complexity that never actually mattered. Like, I don't think that anyone is like crying out for PoE 2 to use PoE 1's like gem socketing system. Like, that is not the criticism that PoE 1 players have, and yet it was like a huge thing that caused PoE 1 to be hard for new players. So it's like there are changes that are just straight up wins for one group that don't affect the other group, and that's the kind of changes we're trying to make to kind of make it so that you're just like things are less complicated, like are nicer to play, like those kinds of things. And so like my hope, like I really don't think that the sacrifices, I don't think there's many sacrifices a PoE 1 player should be having to make to play PoE 2, and I really don't think that that should even be how the PoE 1 player should look at it. Like, you know, like I believe that there really is an intersection there where we can make both groups of those players like happy about the game.
Yeah, it's not easy as well. I mean,
no, it isn't easy.
Companies fight for that.
I have kind of a follow-up that I know you guys have talked about this extensively in different formats. I know you've been on all sorts of podcasts, but just to kind of get it all in one place, kind of building on the question JTP just asked between like the strongest, most educated players and new players, and that kind of Venn overlap. I'm curious on your perspective on the overlap of your end game players and how you guys are approaching that with PoE 1.
Right.
So like one thing I've noticed is if you kind of had two sides, you have like the more faster one skill gameplay of PoE 1 on one side. And then you have the kind of more slower, more difficult, more methodical PoE 2 on the other. So, and again, feel free to kind of dance around this question as much as you like. One thing I've noticed a lot in the PoE community is that there's a lot of people that fell in love with PoE for that first style. They see PoE 2 kind of moving a different direction, and then they see PoE 1 like not getting quite as much love as PoE 2 as they see it go into the distance in a direction they're not digging. How are you guys tackling this? Where you have players like, speed the game up, we want this more, but that kind of goes counter to what you want to do with this. And you kind of have that other option available. Like, do you try to bring the PoE 1 players into PoE 2, or do you purposefully differentiate them for different experiences?
Well, first of all, I guess the main thing is that it's incredibly unfortunate that the slowdown in PoE 1 development happened, because it wasn't our intention to do that. And so my belief is that shouldn't be a problem after the next expansion happens. Like that we're trying. I mean, look, we might fail, but you know, the goal is not to fail, of course. You know, our intention.
That's a great goal.
The intention is still to update PoE 1, and it's like there were certainly sacrifices that that happened that affected, you know, the PoE 1 audience as far as that development is concerned, and that's definitely bad. And like, it's bad that happened. Like, it wasn't our intention to do that, and we did. You know, so like if you're a person who likes PoE 1 and you're not interested in PoE 2, we still want to have PoE 1 there and getting support like it always had. You know, like for that, like that is a thing we want to do. But that said, I still don't want to give up on the idea that a PoE 1 player can enjoy PoE 2 as well. Like, I really do believe that can be the case. Like I really do believe. Like, I like both games. Like, I do. Like, I like PoE 2 better, but I still like PoE 1, and I think that shouldn't be something. I think that can be something that can be true for a lot of players.
So oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you go.
Oh, I was going to say, so is there, do you guys have any type of specific specialization you'd like to do between the two products? Like, make it so like, if you don't like this, you might like this. Like, from a design philosophy standpoint, are they going to go in different directions to cater to different audiences, or are we always going to see them kind of move in parallel as you explore different things between the both?
It just isn't really the way that I think about it, I suppose, because like I tend to think that, like, I look at individual things on an individual level, right? Like, and I think this is the thing that has frustrated a lot of people in the community when I talk about this stuff, is that, like, because I tend to be like, okay, it's not that I've got some design philosophy where like this is the amount of speed that the game has to have and this many, you know, kilometers an hour or anything like that, right? It's entirely like,
they get hung up on that. I mean, I do it as
well. Yeah, like,
right?
is this fun or isn't it fun? And like, do you feel the power up is progressing or do I not feel like that, and so on? And it's like, I guess the only thing I can point to that's like completely certain to me is that it shouldn't be that when you watch a stream of a player as someone who's never played the game before, that it looks like something that is completely incomprehensible ridiculousness. Like, you have that thing where it's like I don't want it to be like, if a person looks at someone playing the game even at a high level, it should look like, oh wow, that character is ridiculous, but it shouldn't be like, I can't even visually understand what is entering my eyeballs here. You know, like that's really the only.
That was my first time ever watching.
Anytime JP played a clip on this show of him playing PoE, I'm like,
PoE1.
it's like trying to fucking figure out what the Tasmanian devil is doing.
Dude, I'll never forget the first time. First time I saw it, 2 times. First time I saw an endgame mapper in PoE1 that actually knew what they were doing, and the first time I saw a Flicker Strike build. Were 2 of the most memorable PE things I've ever seen. But no, that makes perfect sense.
To be honest, you still kind of understand what's going on with the Flicker Strike build. Like, at least you kind of have an understand.
Sometimes. Depends on how many mobs are on the screen.
I mean, that speed exists here. Let me pull up Fubgun's stream. Like, the PoE2's or PoE1 speed.
But immediately, right, you understand what is happening on the screen right now. Here,
yes,
right?
you see the lightning bolts going out. You see the mob. Yeah. It's not quite like just a Picasso of fast images.
Exactly, right? So it's like, and this is the reason why I'm always hesitant. People are like, are you wanting to slow the game down? And then it's like, well, I mean, I want, to be honest, this is not even as fast as it can go, right? Like, so, as I said,
sounds like what people are saying is they want the game sped up at the beginning.
Sure, some people do say that, right? And that is, I think, a bit of a difference. That might be, well, so this is an interesting concern, right? Because the other thing as well is even the term beginning means something entirely different to some players than others. Like, like some people will tell me, oh yeah, like, you know, the monsters have too much life in the early game, and then I find out they're talking about like Act 5, you know, like effectively crawl Act 2, and it's kind of like, sort of, from their perspective, that's the beginning of the game, right? So it's like, I think that we did have a problem with with issues like in the sort of mid campaign. The other thing as well that we have an issue with is right now we still have cruel difficulty, right? And so the game does drag in cruel difficulty if it's like, you know, a little bit when you've played this before. Like, you know, we had this back in PoE1 in the early days, but you know, the game does start to drag in the second time you're playing through the campaign. So just not having that problem will be a massive boost as well. You know, once we get all the acts and everything like that. So
I've got to.
I'll tell you this, like as a, you know, first time player, first time going through, I played all of my 55 hours with the same character and stuff like that. I was like, I was totally like, I don't think the beginning acts need to be sped up at all. However, if I wanted to go through it again, which is kind of the game's designed to do that, go through it again with different characters or, you know, different builds in mind, whatever, then it would feel slow because I've done this. And like, that's like, for a brand new player like me, the speed was fine at the beginning.
Right.
But like, I could totally see myself going through the same act again with a different character and going, wow, this feels like I'm trudging through a swamp.
Right. I think, that's like a PoE1 issue as well. That's been, I mean, have you guys thought about changing that at all from PoE1? Like, what's the thinking with that?
Changing what exactly?
Well, the biggest comment that we all get is like, do I still have to do the campaign? Like, just to completely cut, like, do I still got to do the campaign? Like, is there going to ever be shortcuts, skips, alternate routes?
Like, one big thing is respecting time. Like that, like a lot of people feel that in PoE2, it doesn't respect necessarily the time, especially compared to PoE1, because of how slower it is. So are we going to have like a cumulative effect of not only having this much larger, much girthier, slower campaign, but then also having to repeat that multiple times?
Well, okay, so I guess the part that I sort of would say about that is that at the end of the day, and this is kind of the way that I tend to think about things, is like, if you're saying that you're not enjoying the campaign, then that just means the campaign needs to be better, right? Like, it just like
even if it's like the 15th or 20th time they played it.
Well, I understand, but on an intellectual level, it's easy to say, okay, I'm not going to enjoy playing through this again, and that might even be true with the campaign in its current state. But I am a believer in the idea that you can make something like this compelling enough that it is fun to play again. And part of the reason why it is because when we have leagues, there's a different thing going on with the campaign to kind of mean that, you know, like it changes your perspective on, you know, like what things are, in an ideal league will actually affect the content that you're playing as well. Like, it'll make it feel like a different play experience. And then there's also the fact that you're playing a different character class. It has a different feel. Like, there are bosses where like they feel completely different. Like, there are a lot of the time there'll be situations where like, okay, you know, you'll play a boss with one type of character, then you'll play it with another one. It just feels like a completely different thing. Like, this boss, I just trivialized it. It was easy the first time I went through. This time I'm having, like, you know, it's like just due to the way that my character is, you know, feels very different. So I guess what I'm saying is that like it's certainly not helped by the fact that we've got 2 copies of the campaign in the game right now, because it meant that you played through it twice, you know, like the first time you played through it. But like I believe that it is possible to get the campaign to the point where you will be fine playing through it, and it's like ideally the experience you're having is just fun. And I mean, like the PoE 1 campaign, I mean, you know, like it does get stale over time eventually, but like it's still something that people play through again and again and again. And like the reason why is it's there to host the other content that we also add every time, right? Like it's there to be the place where you do all these things. And I don't know that if like, okay, if you just started level 1 in endgame, like I'm not really sure that would be like that different really. Like, I mean, like at the end of, okay, like why are you playing a game again at all, right? There's like 3 reasons you could be doing it. One reason is to experience the new content that we've added, and because of the way we add content in leagues, like you can experience that in the early game or the end game, so that doesn't kind of change anything about that. And another reason can be that you're playing a different character class, in which case you still need the experience of like leveling it up and going through and like, you know, sort of learning the abilities and growing with you. So like I don't know that like starting in the end game would materially change that really. Like it's just a question of like, are you having fun doing the thing you're doing?
Okay, so just to push back a little bit, because this you have a very unique project here, and I want to understand this better. So you said you want the campaign to be engaging, but at the same time, like it's designed to be played, like it can be engaging, but anything you do 20 plus times, like when you're doing the same thing, hearing the same voice lines, doing the exact same pattern, like even if you're engaged, it still seems like it would just get super repetitive. And the other thing that I think, which is interesting here, is PoE is not one game. PoE is 2 distinct different games. It is the campaign and it is the end game. And a lot of people don't want to play this first one a bunch of times, but they really want to play the second one a bunch of times, which means they have to slog through the first one a bunch of times to get to the part they like, which immediately changes what this one is.
Here's where I think that I disagree about that, is that I don't see those as 2 separate things in the same way that I think that that you necessarily are saying there. Because ultimately, like, okay, like you said, anything that you play through 20 times can get boring, and I don't disagree with that. But then at the same time, in the end game, you're playing through the same map 20 times.
But you're coming back to the season for like the new mechanics, the new changes. So you come back for the new stuff, but you only get to that stuff.
Is also available in the campaign as well. So if you're going to make the argument that playing through the, you know, like what I'm saying is like the only difference between the campaign and the end game is the order in which you play through areas is fixed in the campaign and isn't in the end game. Like that's really the like, you know, like, and okay, but the other difference being that you've got more of a mix of mechanics where you've got like, you know, like different, like there's more overlapping mechanics that are happening at the same time. But I don't know that even in a context where you were, like if you imagine playing the end game from level 1, I don't think you could just introduce every single thing like right at the very beginning of that either, right? Like you have to have on some level.
You would, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, you'd have to have that character growth, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like there would be some kind of middle ground for like you do the campaign once per patch or league, and then your second campaign is like shorter, or maybe you have all the exits already marked on your map before you get
within
there.
a league, effectively.
Yeah, so within a league. So like every time you do a new character, like the campaign vicariously gets like shorter and shorter and shorter, not necessarily in due to content, but the player's ability to get through it. But like one thing, for instance, is like, you know, players have contests and how fast they can get through the campaign to get to where the game. It's like that World of Warcraft episode in South Park where they spend, you know, 40 weeks leveling up to get to the real game, which is the end game. Right. So it just seems like for players that are in that perspective, it seems like there should be an option. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, one of the things as far as like multiple playthroughs of within a single league is that I think that players are maybe not happy enough with the level of like of like power leveling items that they're getting, because like the theory is that you play through the campaign once, you go to end game, you've got a bunch, like you get a bunch of items, and now your second playthrough is way easier because you've got a bunch of items that you got from before, and so I mean that should more than double the speed that you're going through the campaign, like very easily.
If
so
you're
like
good enough of a player to know to save that stuff. But yes,
Right,
yes,
yes,
absolutely,
sir.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But even just having currency in your stash, like, and just buying things on trade,
That's true.
as you level up is also going to get you a crazily different experience than what you'd have the first time through. Just because you've got all that currency that you got, like, you're definitely saving the currency at the very least. So
True.
it's like that should theoretically make that work. And so if that's like, to the extent that that's not the case, like, we might need to improve things there. Like, I know a lot of people are saying that, like, some of the level, like, there's like various reasons why, like, leveling uniques aren't good enough and that kind of stuff, or like, a lot of unique options and that kind of thing. Like, that's the kind of stuff that can help a lot there, I think. So and that also can be another type of experience that's also fun to have, like, because that is your experience of just completely obliterating everything as you go through, like, using these ultra powerful items.
True.
And so that is also an experience we want players to have too. Like, that's the kind of thing that ideally is the solution to that.
Cool. Okay,
Appreciate it.
all right.
Thank you for answering these questions so just transparently and candidly. I really appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Yeah, I both this and not necessarily a question I have, but last week's interview that you did with Zizarin. If you guys haven't watched that in the audience, definitely go check it out.
Yep.
It was a bit heated at times, and I think
It was,
you made
and I feel bad about
comment
that,
to but I still
yeah.
think it was a fantastic conversation, and the changes that came from that, whether they were directly responsible, whether the podcast was directly responsible for that, for the patch. I'm
Well, it was
glad
certainly
that whole
responsible-
conversation happened. That was great.
Yeah, it was certainly responsible for some of them, because at the end of the day, like, we do need people to bring specific things to our attention. So basically, like, that was just useful because, and it's also always easier when you're talking one-on-one with someone, because then you can ask questions about, like, okay, well, what's actually happening specifically here and that kind of stuff. Like, that's always important. And it's similar to that example earlier that I had where, like, with the specific monsters, they had specific problems where it's like, okay, people are like, monsters are too fast, and it's like, okay, but what monsters is the question, right? We have to find out what what the specific issues are. So,
It's
All of them,
like,
minus 20 across the board.
that's the
Let's
thing,
do
right?
it.
That's what a player will say. That's what a player will say, and it's like,
It's not an
that's
answer.
why it becomes difficult. And
yeah.
honestly, the issue that I had when I was doing that interview, and like part of the thing that, obviously I was like low on sleep, and there was like a few other various compelling.
It was a
things as well,
week.
but
Like it was an
It was a
interesting
week.
week.
It was a week. Yeah.
But one of the things that was happening that I really need to take care of when I'm discussing this stuff is, like, you don't, like, if someone says, like, you should make all the monsters slower. Oh no, I think the specific thing there, like, as an example, was like, okay, like, I don't remember the exact wording of the question, but it was something like, there shouldn't be any monsters faster than the player, effectively. Like, that was the thing. And, like, what I did was I launched into defending that, rather than just talking about the fact that, okay, we are actually looking into a bunch of monster speed issues, and we are actually, like, going through all this stuff, and it's like, that's the answer that would have actually been much more like what the players wanted to hear, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Rather than, like, let's have a philosophical discussion about why it's important that some monsters can be faster than the player sometimes. So, like, that's the kind of thing that
Different
is,
answers
like,
for different audiences.
exactly.
For sure.
It's like a very different situation.
I mean, you mentioned, I think that goes both ways, right? Because you mentioned, like, players screaming X needs to be fixed, but not the specifics of what X is. I think, as someone who's talked to a lot of developers over a myriad of different games, it's one thing that we have to get better at, is just, like, actually honing in on what the problem is, or what we think the problem is, to be able to identify that.
I don't know. I mean, your job is not to be a game developer, right? That's our
Right.
job. So,
That's
like,
very true. But we could
like,
try
it's
to
like,
be better at it, because I suck at
It's
it.
our job to yell at you for your poor decisions.
I suck at it.
That's what our job is.
Yeah.
The thing is, but what I will say is that, like, but on the other hand, if you're in our QA department, now it is your job to actually get specific about individual things, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's one of those things that
I think it goes both ways.
Also,
though.
one of those things that when people enter QA, they have to learn about, like, that kind of stuff. It's like, it's not enough to just say, like, monsters are too fast. You actually have to say, well, like, what monster were you fighting? Like, what was the exact situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Basically, everyone just needs to stream, and then when anyone dies, you need to take the last 10 seconds, and we can just submit that. Just have a little submit button next to, instead of a death recap, we'll submit a video. There you go. So you guys have all the information. Closing in on 15 minutes left, I kind of have some sort of rapid fire stuff.
Cool.
I joked about death recap there. Is there ever going to be any sort of death recap system in PoE 2?
I mean, I'm not against the idea fundamentally, but every time we've ever talked about this, you start to get into a bajillion corner cases
Yeah,
that
I mean,
make it
it's a loaded
like kind of
question. I
hard.
get it.
Yeah, and so it's not really a question of want. It's a question of like, there's always been something more important, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. I guess these are the tough questions, and so I apologize beforehand. Community loves to speculate, and I guess so do I. With that said, can you talk about Chris Wilson and kind of where he's been? There's not really been any official statement anywhere from GGG about that. I think we've had a couple things like third party, a fourth party, but is there anything official you could say where Chris has been?
I mean, he hasn't been working like day to day at our company for quite a long time.
Yeah,
and then recently he also retired from the board. But
okay,
there's nothing really much else to say about it.
Gotcha.
Really.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any drama, but it just people.
I still talk to him every day, just online, like
Yeah, Co kind of mentioned it earlier. Account sharing's been in the spotlight recently. You guys have had like a pretty strict rule regarding that, as well as RMT in the past. Is there ever going to be any action on that front? Is that a special case?
Are you waiting for 1.0?
Do you have anything to say?
It's just nothing. I don't think I've got anything to say about this particular issue.
I figured as much. I figured I would ask, but yeah. That's good luck with that.
Will you personally be banning No, just kidding.
In an age where people like to pit companies against each other, do you consider yourself competitors to Blizzard, Diablo 4, Last Epoch? Like, how do you view these other companies? Are you trying to beat them in player count, or are you just existing and hoping that the game speaks for itself? How do you look at that?
I mean, I guess I don't really. It doesn't really bother me particularly that other companies, what they're releasing and that sort of stuff. Like the only thing that ever matters is if if something happens. A thing that is relevant is if something happens in the genre that like moves it forward in a way that we have to respond to, then that's something that we have to like deal with, right? Like that's a thing, for sure. But other than that, like it's fine. Like I mean, the nice thing about the genre is that it's not like World of Warcraft where like you've got subscribers and you're competing for that. Like that's an actual like real competition scenario where people aren't going to be really subscribed to more than one MMO. But in the seasonal model that we have with in action RPGs, it's kind of fine. Like, you play the game, for however long you play it for, you play another one, and that's fine. Obviously there was like the tension that happened with Last Epoch recently,
right?
Which was very unfortunate, and I honestly wish it didn't have to be that way.
Yeah, if you could just coordinate with them in the future and space it out, that'd be great.
I mean, yeah.
Are there back channels? Like, are there back channels between companies?
So they messaged us about. Okay, so they asked me like, we're thinking of coming around this time. When are you thinking of coming out? And I'm kind of like, that actually might conflict with something. And that was kind of the last of it. There really wasn't anything else that was said there.
The alarm went off.
So like, but the thing is, I think that what happened is that like, so we had a date, and look, I don't know how they're thinking internally, but I think that their plan was to come out a little bit after that date. We didn't give them what the exact date was, but we kind of had said, like in the community, like sort of like people had sort of vaguely known when we were planning on coming out, and then we then got delayed, right? Like we couldn't make our date, and there's like just nothing I can do about it. I can't come out any earlier, obviously, than what the time that we can come out, right? Like it was just it had got unavoidably delayed, and then it was like really unfortunate because I actually probably would have delayed an extra week to get out of their way. But we have Easter. We've got Easter,
right?
And then there's actually another public holiday the weekend after that, which means that there's a 3-day week. So when you have a 3-day week, everyone takes those 3 days off. Like everyone is put in for time off during those 3 days, right? Like that week is just dead. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And so what would have happened is if we delayed another week, then that week would have been right after our launch. Which obviously, if we'd just had the launch we just had and everyone was on holiday, that wouldn't have been.
Just to make sure I heard this properly, just to be clear, if those holidays weren't there, you would have moved PoE 2 for Last Epoch?
I would have moved it a week, right? Not in a way that the players would have seen, right?
Hey, that's plenty of time. Yeah, yeah. No,
I would have moved
that's
it
cool.
a week. I wouldn't
really
have moved
cool.
it 2 weeks. I wouldn't have moved it 2 weeks because
there's only
like,
so much you can
that
do,
is actually
right? Yeah,
kind of hurt
absolutely.
players.
Yeah.
But a week I would have moved. But yeah, we just couldn't move that week, unfortunately. And so then, and I felt real bad about it as well, because I was like, I don't want to do that to them, right? Like, I don't want to do, like, it's not something I want to do. But at the same time, if we were delaying 2 weeks and then the players like knew that, like that would just be awful, right? Like our players would have crucified us for that, and rightly so, right? That would have been terrible. So effectively, like, it just ended up that way. And like, I don't know whether or not it was a good idea for them to then move in response to that. Like, I honestly can't say whether or not that was right or wrong. But I certainly don't feel great about that happening, right? Not amazing. Like, I don't want to ruin their plans in any regard.
Yeah. To be blunt though, it's very cool you're even thinking of that. I mean, we live in a day of kind of faceless corporations for a lot of games this size, so that's cool to know. Not only that you guys are talking, but even considering doing stuff like that. I think I speak for many of us when I say, just like you were saying earlier, we love Last Epoch and PoE2. So in a perfect world, we'd love to be able to, like, do both when they're all shiny and new. So it's great to know you guys are like talking. Yeah. That's cool.
Well, I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again, because, as I said, it was really unfortunate. And it really sucked that there was just that holiday thing that like blocked it. It's just like, it's just very unfortunate timing that happened there.
It'll happen. Every once in a while it'll happen. One of the things in terms of like the issues of now or the issues of today, a lot of people have been asking about the EU server issues. I don't know if there's a specific...
Yeah, so that's just DDoSs, unfortunately, that are very hard to deal with.
Yeah.
There's unfortunately not like a complete solution to DDoSing on the internet. If someone's really doing that stuff. So it isn't a question of NOS wanting to like pay more money for more servers or anything like that. It's just entirely like, the nightly DDoS comes along and like takes out like 5 or 6 machines, and then if you're having to play on those machines, then that happens, and then they move on to another 5, and like that kind of thing. It's just like very annoying.
Yeah.
Look, we are investigating more options to try and improve that, but that is the source of that.
Okay, gotcha. I think even saying that is beneficial for a lot of people.
Right.
So,
agreed.
Yeah. What else is there? I'm kind of looking through there to see if there's anything. I guess another question I have for you in terms of like analytics, right? PoE is such a game based around numbers and whatnot. For you as a dev and as the game director of PoE2, do you have like a data point that you're constantly looking at? And if that number goes bad or that number goes positive, it affects not only your mood, but like the direction?
Average player time to death.
Yeah, like what is that number? If there,
the number for me is just concurrent users, just number of people online right now.
Okay.
Because that really, look, if people aren't enjoying the game, they're not going to play it. And this is actually something that, I actually yesterday, like I was talking to Mark, about all of the, all of the stuff, and the thing that he said to me is like, he sort of had to remind me of that fact. Like, he's like, look, the retention of this PoE2 launch, like in terms of concurrent users on like weekend to weekend, is higher than any PoE1 launch we ever had before.
Right.
So it can't be that bad.
I mean, it's a... Yeah. I mean, I totally understand you have to put things in perspective, right? Like when the internet's shouting at you to fix a myriad of issues, if there's a data point you can look at, they're still playing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they might be mad, but they're still there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we still obviously there's still tons of things to fix. It's like, I don't want to discount that in any
totally.
regard.
Yeah.
Like on some level, like it's okay. Like, because the thing is, when a million people start to say, the game is bad, the game is terrible, it's hard to even remember yourself, that there's actually a game there that is good, even though there may be problems, So seeing that and reminding myself of the fact that there are actually a lot of people playing the game, is I think it was certainly important for me to kind of be like, yeah, you know what, like, sure, the benefit we're getting from all the people yelling is that we know that we need to fix stuff, but we still have a game that people are enjoying, and that is and that is a good thing.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, we're still doing well, and like, I mean, this launch was still larger than any PoE1, like in terms of absolute numbers as well, right? Like this launch in terms of people online was larger than any PoE1 launch we ever did. It is approximately what I expected as far as like relative to the other launch. So generally speaking, like what we've always observed is the first launch is you get a number, and then the subs. This is in any market we've entered, and any subsequent launch is 50% of what the first launch was. But then the way you know that you're doing well is that you start growing from there. So you have a number, you go half, and then you're going up like hopefully 5%, something like that, each time after that, and that's how you know an action RPG is doing well. So it's really seeing like, do people come back next time? Like how well do we do there? That'll be the question.
Sure. Yep. We could do a round of final questions and then call it an interview. For me, it's 8 a.m. there. What time is it on Monday, the start of the work
right
week?
now it's 8 o'clock. You can see the sun rising in the background there, which is blowing out all the cameras.
What's the first thing that's going to be on your desk when you get into the office? What are you doing?
So we are going to look into item drops, because a lot of people are saying that the wisps are not rewarding enough, and they should mathematically be. Like, those things give like 300% better, like more. Well, okay, it's not more items; it's more more the number that we use for like rarity that increases the drops, how good they are, right?
Right.
And it also gives two extra drop slots. So effectively, like, there's no reason why they should feel unrewarding, but they do. So therefore, I need to understand what's going on with that. And I spent like quite a lot of time yesterday looking through like the simulations and like seeing what's going on. And like, I've definitely identified that there's something going wrong in the item drop system that I'm not quite happy with. And hopefully, if we fix that, it'll make this the wisps feel better.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of the thing that I'm going to be probably spending a few hours on this morning to see if we can come up with some kind of improvement there.
Cool. Fantastic.
I like the first thing I read in chat. 300% of 0 is still 0. Because of course, that's how he feels.
Yeah. I will also say chat erupted mostly in jubilation when he said that you're going to be taking a look at loot. So
I took the temperature of all three chats. W take.
Yeah.
W take. Great. Oh, but is it, what's the quotient on based?
Oh.
Based is good and trending.
Base values are trending. Great. Excellent.
Fantastic.
Great.
Zeke or Co, any final questions?
I got one.
I had one from my audience. That might be an easy one.
Yeah,
I'll go last.
Zeke,
I don't know if John, this is from my audience. Tell me if it matters, because I don't know. Ask him about difficulty scaling with multiple people, and if it's been adjusted. At launch, me and 2 others had to stop because it was so difficult.
That's just the game, baby. I'm sorry.
There wasn't any change. There wasn't any change from early access's launch, so yeah, it shouldn't be. But I mean, like, it can be that various nerfs like got hit. But I wonder, like, as well, whether that feedback was before or after the change to Monster Life we did. That was a few days in, because we did a pretty substantial change to Monster Life in the sort of mid game. So it's possible that they might have a better time now if they were playing before that point. So it'll just be a question of that.
Okay. Jonathan's like, are they both huntresses and were they parrying?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Hard for me to say without knowing more specifics about exactly what path and exactly what stuff, right?
So I got a this is just a quick yes or no, but it's a big question close to my heart, especially one that I think would be great for newer players. Any plans to ever have it so I can open up my passive tree and see like import builds or overlay classes over it? So as a newer player, I would have like a really good idea of where to go on this gigantic ass tree.
So this is a thing, and I'm trying to remember. Okay, so we made this feature a while ago, and I can't even remember whether or not we enabled it. Is it even? I don't even know if it's live. We actually did make a feature where you could get a build file from. I think it's probably not live then. Probably if
I've never heard of this.
We've never heard of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Cool.
So the idea was that you could download a build file and then set that as your thing, and then it would highlight all the nodes of that build.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, that'd be amazing. And then you could make like some pre-default ones for new players that are just like super basic but get you.
Well,
through
here's
it
the thing. That's the part that I don't want to do because I don't want to. So the reason why I'm fine with the build thing where you where you go to a build guide and then you just download the file is that
you're not telling the player how to play.
Yeah, exactly, right? So effectively, like at that point, they've already decided they want to follow someone's guide. So like, therefore, it's fine, right? But at the point where, but if you're just like into the game and then the game's immediately like, why don't you pick from one of these build guides? Like, I'm kind of like, I'm not a fan of that, you know? Like, I don't want to, like, I feel like if you want to follow a build guide, that's great, but you have to seek it out, you know?
Yeah. Well, and
I totally agree with that because
I
wanted to mention this before. One of the things that I really enjoyed about PoE 2 is that I got through the entire thing before it, restarts or whatever. I got through the entire thing without looking up any builds or anything. I was able to get through it. It was fucking tough, but I got through it. And then I looked at a build guide and I'm like, wow, I was way off. Holy shit. And then I did the build and I put all the nodes in the proper spot. And I was like, God, this is like baby shit. I'm just zapping everything. But I could get through it. So I like that you don't do it. And also, if you put that in the game, you're gonna make someone like me feel like an idiot. Like I'll start putting things in nodes, and then I'll go like, "What do you suggest?" And like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different things I could see that would be bad about that. But I agree with Jonathan in the sense like if a player seeks it out, they should be able to.
Optional.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. Yep.
Yeah. That makes a lot more
That's
sense.
cool though that you guys are thinking about that because I would love to have all that in game for builds. Like if we could just open up P and see a little text box in the bottom right that was like, path of building code, paste here. Like that would be amazing.
Now,
well, in PoE 2, I suppose, now that I'm thinking about it, you would also have potentially the capability of having the same file list recommended support gems, like overriding the recommendations that we have, which would allow a build designer to set the gems that you should be using as well, like so that would appear when you open the recommended supports from that.
Very useful, yeah.
So that would actually be another. I just thought about that just as you were talking there. So
you could have like Path of Exile guide masters make like purposefully like this is for new players suggestions, not necessarily like a roadmap, but like here's some suggested stuff for you kind of thing. And that opens up a lot of interesting doors.
Yeah, I would.
All right.
Of course, all optional.
Yeah, I'm curious about how as someone who doesn't make like build guides or anything, but for PoE 2 content creators, where that is their livelihood, right, is making build guides. That's how they take ad rev and whatnot. I wonder if they would be against that because you no longer need to seek out a video and watch an ad because it's all in game and there's no monetization, right? So I wonder if you get pushback for that from the creators. So they took our jobs.
150,000 people like it, but those 3 streamers.
So
we probably shouldn't do it. Yeah.
I just wonder if you get pushback from them and to what extent that goes. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. And it is very much like Ko just said, 3 people versus the masses.
It would be very,
yeah.
Still a consideration for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. We're a little bit over, but Jonathan, thank you. Mr. Rogers, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for
coming to our neighborhood.
Coming to our neighborhood. Yeah. Anything you want to say here before we wrap it up so you can get on with your day. It's only 8 a.m. there. Jeez.
Yeah. Right. So you can go to work.
Just like, it was really nice chatting to you guys. Like I had a fun time and, I'll go in, we'll start working on stuff and hopefully, people will like the changes we're making. I guess that's the main thing, right?
Yeah. Fantastic. We're going to do shout outs here for Zeke, Ko, and I. But Jonathan, feel free to go on about your day. We really appreciate it. We're going to shift over to this. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much
on the show whenever.
Jonathan.
We'd love to have you on. Let's do some shout outs and wrap up the show. Ko and Zeke. Zeke, please begin.
Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is Ezekiel the Third. You can find me at or / Ezekiel_III on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Ezekiel the Third, all spelled out on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, Jonathan Roger, for joining us today, talking about PoE2 and putting up with my loud, spitting, sputtering questions. You're very gracious, so thank you. Thank you to contender also for being my co-host every week. You can find me at streaming every day at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. I'm going to be playing this, I take Mondays off, so I'm not here tomorrow, but I will be playing Into the Dead and Blueprints for the next couple of days.
Nice.
And that's what I got coming up. So if you want to come join me checking those out, please do. Thanks for watching.
Fantastic. Some shout outs, please.
Absolutely. As always, big thanks to JP and Zeke, and a special shout out and thank you to Jonathan. That was awesome. I can tell you, I can count the amount of devs of that size that I feel are that kind of like transparent and in the trenches. That is
Definitely.
Awesome. So big thanks to GGG and Jonathan for all of that. On that note, my name is Ko. Hi, going to be doing a lot of Blueprints this week. Also, we've got Last Epoch this week. Going to be rolling new characters for that. Probably some more PoE2 as we do more of our hardcore run. Maybe some First Berserker Kazan, if I can rip myself away from Blueprints, and then some other fun games too, maybe some Yakuza in the evening. Regardless, thank you guys so much for watching this week. Hope you enjoyed the interview, and we will see you next week or sooner.
Fantastic. We also have a sponsored stream. We'll be playing together on Friday, I believe at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll wait. I don't know if the game's announced, so I'm not going to say anything. But we'll see you all there on Friday. I think that's at 1 p.m. Eastern with the three of us. Oh yeah,
I see 12 p.m., but that works.
Okay, all right.
Whatever.
Doesn't matter to me.
We'll figure it out. Yeah,
we'll figure it out, and we'll let you guys know. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, Jonathan's got inner peace. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut back to the screen. That was just look at him. He's so happy. He's ready to go fix the loot.
He's zenning out before work. I love it. Yeah.
All right, that's it. The VOD will be up over at youtube.com/itmeJP a little bit later, probably in the next 30 or 40 minutes. We're out for now. Next week, we got Rami. Rami Ismail's coming back. And then I don't know what we're doing after that in terms of guests. I'll figure it out this week and let you guys know as soon as possible. Follow us on Blue Sky, Twitter, all the places. We're out. Have a good one. Bye-bye.